My cousin's parents both died, and the Empress Dowager brought her into the palace. From then on, she enjoyed all the favor of my parents, the protection of my elder brother, and the respect of my younger brother. Even my fiancé praised her as graceful and charming. Only one person was different. His heart and eyes were full of me. He never swayed for anyone else. I married him and spent several happy, carefree years with him. But later, he died, stabbed with countless knives and thrown off a cliff. I knelt for 3 days and nights, begging the emperor to thoroughly investigate the prince consort's murder. After 3 days, what I received was a single sentence from the chief eunuch at the emperor's side. Eunuch, Your Highness the Princess, this case has been investigated clearly and understood. It was unfortunate for the imperial son-in-law to encounter bandits. Those bandits have long escaped. The capital Yamen is in the process of hunting them down everywhere. This matter has come to this point. Please, Your Highness, mourn accordingly. His Majesty is busy with state affairs. Your Highness should return home. It was not bandits. He was stabbed more than 30 times. Clearly it was a town for vengeance. Your Highness, His Majesty says it was bandits. Brother Du speaks with such certainty. It felt like a thorn in my throat. Tears and rainwater flowed from my mouth into my heart. After a long while, I whispered, Father's words are right. I have been too stubborn, making Father worry. I kowtowed toward the Chenqing Palace, then rose and left gracefully. Back at the princess's mansion, I collapsed onto the ground. When I woke up, 3 days had passed. Aron's eyes reddened slightly, but she forced a smile and said, Your Highness the Empress Dowager is worried about you and specially sent over many tonics. Your Highness, please mourn appropriately. Your husband misses you dearly. If you ruin your health, even the underworld would not be at ease. Oh, the sound of drums and bells could be heard from outside, lively and bustling. What happened outside? Not much. Your Highness, you're still unwell, rest a bit longer. I put on my robe and got up, walking toward the door. Your Highness, don't go. Qing Luo hurried after me but knocked something over. She was my personal maid, always calm and capable, yet today she panicked. It seemed something serious had happened. I opened the main gate of the princess's residence, only to be stopped by the guards at the door. Princess, the Empress Dowager has ordered that you remain in the residence and not go out, so that's why I was being confined. What's going on outside? Today is the wedding day of Princess Duanhua and young Master Lu. They're finally getting married. Why choose today of all days, with such pomp? It could well rival a princess's grand wedding. A flicker of pity passed through the guard's eyes, then he bowed his head and fell silent. Qing Luo tugged my sleeve. Your Highness, let's go back. Later I learned that Duanhua's wedding had indeed been conducted according to a princess's rites. The Prime Minister's residence cooperated fully, sparing no expense in splendor. Empress Mother gave Duanhua countless dowries and bestowed upon her the stringed bead canopy from her own wedding years ago. People praised them as a perfect match, a couple made for each other. They probably all forgot. Lu Jingxing had once been my fiancé, and Princess Duanhua had formerly been just the daughter of a governor. After her parents died, she endured great hardship before coming to the capital to seek refuge with Empress Mother. Hearing her story, Empress Mother lamented her sister and brother-in-law's misfortune, petitioned the emperor to confer the title of princess on Duanhua, and lavished her with affection, as if that could make up for the suffering she had endured at the time. I did feel sorry for her and made sure she had first pick of clothing, food, and lodging. But later, some things seemed to change. I was wearing the hairpin she had given me, thinking it was a token of sisterly affection, only to be scolded by Empress Dowager for being thoughtless and accused of stealing the keepsake aunt had left for our cousin. I hurriedly protested that I hadn't taken it, that Duanhua had given it to me. Duanhua, however, bit her lip, eyes brimming with tears, and said nothing. Afterwards she told me she had been too frightened. Newly arrived, she dared not defy anyone, much less contradict Her Majesty the Empress. Although the Empress is my aunt, she is my sister's mother. My sister and our aunt are as close as mother and daughter. If you contradict our aunt, nothing much will happen, but if I contradict her, she will shun me. Sister, I'm sorry. I was really too scared. If only my mother were still alive, She began to cry as if burdened with the greatest grievance. "What are you doing, Jingning?" the crown prince cried out angrily, strode over and shoved me aside. My younger brother Li Chengyu sheltered Duanhua behind him, whispering comfortingly, "Don't cry, I'll take you out of the palace to play, okay?" while at the same time glaring at me with blame, as if I had committed some great sin. That day I not only received no apology, I was also scolded. The crown prince called me selfish and cold. Li Chengyu said he never wanted to speak to me again. They gathered around Duanhua, saying they would take her out of the palace to find a fun place. "Don't worry, we'll only take you. Even royal sister doesn't know this place. It's our secret spot. Now that we've told you, you mustn't cry anymore," Li Chengyu said loudly. As if afraid I might not hear, I held back a burst of anger, wanting to argue, but had no way to. That year I was 15. 15-year-old Li Jingning was truly tongue-tied, clearly feeling something was wrong, yet unable to say exactly what. I left the palace to find Lu Jingxing. I told him the whole story. Feeling wronged, Lu Jingxing was furious and said he would ask on my behalf in person, insisting that Zhao Wanqing must come apologize to me. My heart warmed. I hurriedly said it wasn't necessary, that I would simply ignore her from then on. I didn't want to start another conflict or drag Lu Jingxing into this messy situation. Perhaps subconsciously, I didn't want him to have anything to do with Zhao Wanqing. Lu Jingxing praised my kindness. "Jingning, you're just too kind-hearted, you need to change that, otherwise, I'm really afraid you'll be bullied." "It won't happen. As long as you remain the same, I won't feel hurt." 15-year-old Li Jingning really thought of others so much that she neglected her own feelings of joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. My 16th birthday fell on the same day as Zhao Wanqing's coming-of-age ceremony. Mother combined the two celebrations into one. Although there were two honorees, Zhao Wanqing and me, everyone gathered around her. Mother presented her with a set of priceless head ornaments. The crown prince brother gave her a yun brocade garment. Li Chengyu gifted her an ancient zither. He beamed proudly and said, "This zither is called Zhouxiao Huanpei, once used by Susha. Sister, look, does it suit you?" I don't know when it started, but Li Chengyu began calling me by my given name. While he addressed Zhao Wanqing as sister, Zhao Wanqing's slender, fair fingers gently plucked the zither strings, revealing an innocent, pure smile. In that moment, I finally understood what a faintly furrowed brow and a slight smile always entice, and a beauty's slight smile turns her eyes into stars meant. She was only 14, yet she already displayed a captivating bearing. She shone brilliantly. I was draped in loneliness. Although my heart ached like the sea, I showed a calm indifference like smoke. "It's fine, I have Lu Jingxing." I waited for Lu Jingxing's gift. He gave me a jade hairpin. The jade was excellent, a dripping green. I placed the pin in my hair, satisfied. Zhao Wanqing stared at my hairpin, her eyes sparkling, as if about to say something but holding back. I was extremely annoyed. When the ceremony ended, I couldn't wait to leave the palace to find Lu Jingxing. Unexpectedly, I didn't find him. I returned to the palace full of regret and fell asleep early. In the middle of the night, I was startled awake. There was a commotion outside. I asked Qingluo what was wrong. Qingluo said angrily, "Isn't it that lady causing it? She went out drinking with people and only returned now, vomiting and crying, making everyone restless. If she can sleep until the sun is high, those who attend her are doomed. What a mistress to have." It turned out Zhao Wanqing had come back late. I couldn't help but ask, "Does mother not punish her? Today she came of age, and Her Majesty said to let her enjoy herself. Everything will be taken care of by Her Majesty." A secret ache rose in my heart. No, it's not like that. When I was 14, mother told me I was grown and must not make mistakes or disgrace the royal dignity. On my birthday today, mother told me again to follow the rules from now on and not to be willful. I yearned for Lu Jingxing so much, but I didn't even dare wait for him until evening, fearing to miss the palace curfew and cause mother embarrassment. Yet mother told Zhao Wanqing to enjoy herself and that she would take care of everything. Why was it different? Is it getting cold? I felt so cold. It wasn't until the next evening that I saw Zhao Wanqing, her face still hazy with sleep. She gave me a smile and said softly, Last night I stayed up too late playing with Crown Prince Gij, Cheng Ndidi, and Brother Lu, and we disturbed you. That was my fault. Last night Brother Lu gave me a pool of stars. It was truly beautiful. The hairpin you wore was beautiful too. Brother Lu and I chose for a long time before picking this one that's green from end to end. It really suits you, sister. She bowed to me and walked away with ease. I pulled the hairpin from my hair, and for the first time hatred surged up in my heart. I wanted to smash the hairpin, but then I thought I shouldn't believe only her side of the story. I should ask Lu Jingxing. I waited a long time at the Lu residence before Lu Jingxing finally arrived. He wore an ornate robe, splendid and handsome, and when he saw me a look of guilt crossed his face. I asked him about the hairpin. He hesitated for a moment, then admitted it. I just didn't know what to choose, so I went with Duanhua. What gift did you give her? Then he pressed his lips tightly and fell silent. That pool of stars had originally been the gift he once said he would give me. To make the pool sparkle with starlight, he secretly searched everywhere for crystals. I pretended to be unaware of his plan, but privately I gathered crystals for him everywhere. It took a full year before he filled that cave with crystals. Once a candle was lit, the crystals all over the cave would glitter and reflect into the pool, and the light from the pool would mirror onto the cave ceiling, a pool of starlight, each reflecting the other, so beautiful it felt like a dream. I waited until I was 16, always expecting him to give it to me. My 16th birthday came and went without it. I thought perhaps he intended to give it on some other important day. Unexpectedly, after all that waiting, it became the gift he gave to Zhao Wanqing. The green on that jade hairpin was so ironic. I slammed the pin to the ground, shards flying, tearing his hand, beads of blood rolling out. I was startled. Before I could apologize, he flew into a rage. Jingning, I did give the starlight to Duanhua, but you clearly possess so much. While Sister Duanhua has nothing, can you stop being petty and stingy? Petty and stingy. If I were truly petty, I wouldn't have treated her like a sister from the start. But Zhao Wanqing does not deserve my care. I bared my teeth in contempt and said, word by word, Lu Jingxing, what I have is what I was born with, never stolen or seized. Why should I hand it over to someone else? If you feel sorry for her, you'd better give your own things to her. Don't be generous with what belongs to others. That whole pool of stars is mine. I give it to her. What objection do you have? Or do you think I'm already safely in your pocket, at your command? His words pierced me. My lips trembled and I couldn't utter a single word. I could only turn and leave. Lu Jingxing and I had never spoken such harsh words before, all because of Zhao Wanqing. They were spoken that night. I was so angry I couldn't sleep. I rehearsed in my dreams countless times how to win the argument with logic and evidence. Unfortunately, later there was no chance to put it into practice. I was 16 and should have been discussing a wedding date with Lu Jingxing, but the Lu family made no moves and mother didn't mention it either. Lu Jingxing and I ceased all contact and were like strangers. By contrast, Zhao Wanqing went out with Lu Jingxing in the daytime and strolled the streets at night. The palace restrictions were effectively meaningless to her. I once asked mother about the palace restrictions. Before she could answer, Li Chengyu spoke up. Sister used to be in Fuzhou and never had a proper chance to see the capital. What's wrong with her going out more? She isn't born into a fortunate lot like you. She naturally belongs in a better place. You already have so much, yet you still make trouble. Can't you stand to see her happy? It took me a moment to process that the sister he meant was Zhao Wanqing. I went cold. You feel sorry she never saw the capital. But do you know that since I was born I have never seen the night outside the Forbidden City? Li Chengyu looked puzzled for a moment and fell silent. Mother said coolly, are you blaming me? No, I was just stating the facts. I bit my lip. Feeling bitter, the Empress lowered her eyes, unwilling to hear me speak further. She withdrew the meal. Regardless of whether I had eaten enough, Li Chengyu slipped away in a hurry. Passing by me, he murmured, you've angered Her Majesty. You'd better go to the Buddhist hall and kneel to copy sutras. Lately she's been fond of reading the Avatamsaka Sutra. The Empress was truly angry. She no longer saw me. Sometimes, from afar, I would catch sight of her. She would smile kindly at Crown Prince Gij, Li Chengyu, and Zhao Wanqing. but the moment her gaze brushed past me she would rein in her smile and slightly knit her brows. I asked Qing Luo, am I very disliked? Qing Luo pained for me. How could your highness think that? You are so beautiful and kind. The other palace maids and eunuchs all want to serve in your quarters. We servants adore a mistress like you. I looked at her with a very complicated heart. My maids and eunuchs loved me, but my parents, brothers, and fiancé seemed not to. I ultimately decided to copy the Avatamsaka Sutra. The entire Avatamsaka Sutra is nearly 800,000 characters. At first, I wasn't familiar with the script and kept making mistakes, having to start over again and again. Qing Luo worried for me. She felt sorry seeing me rewrite repeatedly, her wrist trembling from writing, her voice quavering as she comforted me. Your Highness, you must calm your mind. Only with a calm heart can you write well. You must not panic. Yes, I must not panic. No matter how much Zhao Wanqing flatters, the Empress Dowager is still my mother, my biological mother. She would not fail to care for her daughter on account of an outsider. As long as I can copy the sutra well and prove my filial piety, she certainly will not ignore me. I settled my mind, and indeed each page I wrote grew better than the last. One flower, one world, one leaf, one Tathagata. To become dragons and elephants among the Buddhas, first be oxen and horses among sentient beings. Do not seek comfort for myself. May all sentient beings be freed from suffering. For a full 3 months, I copied the sutra. On the day the book was finished, I had someone carefully bind the manuscript into a beautiful book. I carried the book to the Empress Dowager. With an air of ingratiation, she agreed to see me. She leafed through the book, her brows relaxing. Not bad, you've finally become sensible. A small joy welled up from my heart. The 3 months of toil had been worth it. I chatted with her about trivial matters, as always, until Zhao Wanqing fluttered into her arms like a swallow returning to the nest. Aunt, guess where Brother Lu took me today? He took me to meet his mother and sister. They liked me very much and said they hope I'll marry soon. Sister, what are you doing here? My mother's palace. Why can't I be here? Or did she really take my mother for her own? And what did she mean by that? Marry whom? 1,000 questions burst into my mind, jostling and choking me so that I suddenly lost my voice. I was hoarse for a long while before I could suppress my anger and ask, Empress, what does she mean? Lu Jingxing and Duan Hua are mutually fond of each other. Are you going to unite them? And what about me? What am I to you? I finally lost my composure and asked in a trembling voice, Jingning, you are the legitimate eldest princess. Matches for you are easy to find. There are plenty of men in this world for you to choose from. Whoever you want, I will give you. But Duan Hua only has Lu Jingxing. Empress, what are you saying? Lu Jingxing and I were betrothed in childhood. We grew up like playmates. Can 15 years of feelings be outweighed by 2 years he spent with Zhao Wanqing? Then why didn't the Lu family come to propose a date? Can't you see it? I felt as if struck by lightning. Of course, if Lu Jingxing truly meant it. Now that I'm 16, he should have already asked his mother to come set the date and carry out the formalities. But he had done nothing. Mother said again, the Lu family has already mentioned betrothing with Duan Hua, and I agreed. It's settled. Duan Hua, don't make trouble. She stood up, and in her carelessness the Avatamsaka Sutra slipped from her lap and fell, tearing apart. Mother frowned. The senior palace maid tried to pick it up. I was quicker and grabbed the book, hurling it away hard. The porcelain vase shattered with a clattering crash that sounded horribly loud. Mother flew into a rage. Jingning, do you have any manners at all? I'm the one who's followed all the rules. And this is the end I've come to. Mother, from tomorrow on, I won't follow your rules. I stormed off, and behind me came my mother's furious shout. You wicked child, stop right there. I ignored it and stumbled away in a daze, my steps unsteady, afraid I might fall if I wasn't careful. Aunt, I'll go and persuade sister. Please calm down, don't hurt yourself. Zhao Wanqing hurried up behind, calling out, Sister Jingning, wait for me. I didn't mean it, neither Brother Lu nor I ever expected things to develop this far, but matters of love aren't something you can just concede. Even if I relent today, would you and Brother Lu truly be able to hold hands and grow old together? I could bear it no longer and slapped her across the face with a smack. She clutched her cheek, looked at me in shock. Then her eyes flushed and tears fell like pearls. "Sister, don't call me sister, it makes me sick, Li Jingning. You mustn't go too far." With a smack, a resounding slap landed on my cheek. I staggered a step, holding back dizziness, and made out the people who had come: Crown Prince Li Chengxian and Li Chengyu. My gaze must have been saturated with hatred. Li Chengxian looked guilty for a moment, but soon put on the air of an elder brother and scolded me. "You disappoint me so. How could you treat Duanhua like this? Apologize to Duanhua." I spat out a mouthful of blood. My teeth had been shattered, my mouth filled with the metallic taste of blood. The sharp pain suppressed the madness surging in my heart. I glanced around. Li Chengxian and Li Chengyu had once been my closest kin. Zhao Wanqing had once been someone I wanted to cherish. But now, in my eyes, they were all strangers. I said coldly, "She does not deserve my apology. You do not deserve to be my brothers. Today, our ties are severed, Li Chengxian. I do not have a brother like you. May someone one day take your crown prince position from you, and may you be as magnanimous then, gladly relinquishing it. When that time comes, I will press your head down and make you apologize to that person. Admit your mediocrity and that you have usurped the crown prince's place for years. I hope then you can still be calm and generous, without hatred in your heart." Li Chengxian wavered slightly and took a step back. I turned and left. The blood cooled bit by bit. The fire in my heart cooled little by little as well. All that remained was endless sorrow, suffocation, and grievance coiling in my chest, swelling and growing beyond control. Li Chengyu caught up to me and grabbed me. "What are you doing? Apologize to brother and sister." I shook off his hand and said coldly, "Li Chengyu, I taught you to walk when you were little. I was the one who showed you how to solve your first 9 linked rings. I taught you your first character. And when you couldn't finish your homework, I hurried to copy it for you. How have I wronged you for you to hate me like this?" I don't hate you. It's obviously your fault. You shouldn't have hit people." He was still making excuses. I slapped him across the face with a smack. "I hit you, so what?" He clutched his face, and hatred finally showed in his eyes. "I just don't like you. Do you think you're so likable? When you were born, mother nearly lost her childbed fortune. She almost died in childbirth. I couldn't solve that 9 linked rings. You did. I'm the one embarrassed. You copied my books for me. The grand tutor recognized the handwriting, and I still got beaten. You help me with things. Use your head. You've done so much and made so many mistakes, and I got no benefit from it. Why should I have to like you, just because you're my sister?" I didn't know what to say. This was the real Li Chengyu. Just because I couldn't make everything go his way, he hated me, resented me, was unreasonable and refused to see my true feelings. I swallowed the rising tide of tears. I couldn't cry in front of someone who disliked me, holding back the prickling in my throat. I said word by word, "Fine, then, from now on, you have no sister and I have no brother. We are strangers from now on and have nothing to do with each other." I turned away impatiently, and as soon as I did, tears streamed down my face. He shouted loudly from behind me, "I do have a sister. My sister is Zhao Wanqing, not you, Li Jingning." Later, we truly became strangers. At the palace banquet, I no longer sat beside mother. My seat was taken by Zhao Wanqing. She laughed and chatted cheerfully, coquetted with mother, was intimate with Li Chengxian, and joked with Li Chengyu, skilled at pleasing everyone, flawless in every direction. Their laughter and gaiety drew everyone's attention. People glanced at her, then at me, the smiles at their lips full of meaning. I looked but did not see, heard but did not listen, drinking cup after cup, and under mother's sullen gaze I became drunk for the first time in my life. For the first time I broke the rules, but breaking the rules felt so good. Later still, I rode out of the palace on horseback, galloping across the outskirts, and for the first time in my life I ran wild. It felt surprisingly freeing. I stopped holding mother, Li Chengxian, Li Chengyu, Lu Jingxing, and Zhao Wanqing in my heart, and they could no longer wound me. Yet I still felt lonely and desolate, no family, no friends, like a restless ghost. Amid the throngs of the world, I was utterly alone. So when I met Shen Qingxi, covered in blood, on the road. I hesitated for only a moment before hoisting him up onto my horse. I left him outside the palace for someone to care for. Qingluo would sometimes tell me about Shenqingxi's condition, but seeing that I had no interest in listening, she stopped mentioning him later. It was the emperor's birthday. The gift I had prepared disappeared without a trace, while the gift presented by Zhao Wanqing was the very one I had prepared with my own hands. That day, everyone thought I would swallow the humiliation for the sake of appearances, but I pressed a hairpin to my throat and forced father to personally investigate how my gift had ended up in Zhao Wanqing's hands. Zhao Wanqing wept tremblingly, barely able to stand. Li Chengyu stepped forward of his own accord, saying he had broken Zhao Wanqing's present and promised to compensate her, so he had taken my gift on impulse. He wore a mournful face, saying he had not thought it through at all, only that Sister Nanping had so many treasures that he had taken one casually. The emperor was furious. He severely punished Li Chengyu, ordering him to apologize to me and, on top of that, personally gave him 10 strokes with a cane. Li Chengyu cried out miserably. He glared at me with hatred, like a fiend. Back in the harem, the Empress Dowager slapped me hard. Are you satisfied now? When your siblings rise, we all rise. When they fall, we all fall. Are you making a mockery of this entire palace? I covered my face, my heart feeling dead. It ached terribly, yet I forced myself not to shed a single tear. I curled my lips in a faint sneer and said coldly, "You are you, and I am me. I will never share honor or disgrace with you." I burst into the emperor's bedchamber and knelt on the floor. He looked at me coldly. The weariness and impatience in his face could not be hidden. "Now what do you want?" Now, such is the world, I was not at fault, yet because I was dragged into a scandal, innocence became guilt. I stifled the bitterness and said softly, "Your daughter has been wronged today and asks for compensation. I want a princess's residence. I beg the emperor to grant me permission to move into the princess's mansion from today onward." I knelt on the ground, my forehead pressed to the earth. The cold surface cleared my head somewhat. So, the emperor's silence thundered in my ears like a drum. After a long while, the emperor said, "I consent." He called me instead of father. I should have understood long ago. Among the royal family, the so-called father-daughter, mother-daughter affections are no greater than the duties between ruler and subject. I kowtowed in thanks and slowly withdrew. The moment I stepped out the door, the emperor's voice floated after me. "Jingning, do not resent your empress." I paused for a moment and replied, "Yes, I moved into the princess mansion and never went back. If you don't see someone, you don't know them. If you don't see them, you can't fall in love. If you don't see them, you can't hate them either." I turned 17 that year. Other princesses at 17 were already married with children. At 17 I still had no betrothal. The empress seemed to have forgotten about it, and instead busied herself arranging a betrothal between Zhao Wanqing and Lu Jingxing. The engagement ceremony was grand. I didn't go, hiding in the princess mansion drinking. Yet someone was determined not to let me be at peace. Li Chengxian came with Li Chengyu, Lu Jingxing, and Zhao Wanqing. They invited me to have a cup. Li Chengxian said coldly, "Since you moved into the princess mansion, you've grown ever more strange, afraid that others will think we siblings are at odds. Today Duanhua and Jingxing are betrothed. Everyone else came to offer their blessings. Only yours is missing. You gave Duanhua your blessing, so I won't trouble you further. From now on Lu Jingxing will be your brother-in-law. I hope you understand your place." This was not a visit to offer blessings. It was to swagger and intimidate. To warn me off Lu Jingxing and to back Zhao Wanqing, I said, "Get lost. What this palace has lost, let whoever wants it take it. Don't be in my way." Li Chengxian was furious. "Want to get beaten again?" He raised his palm. Someone quickly darted forward to stand between him and me. It was Shenqingxi. I pushed him aside, angrily pulled the hairpin from my head, and faced Li Chengxian without a hint of fear. "Come on, a coward who only dares lay hands on women. If you so much as touch me today, will be fish dead and net broken. Tomorrow, I'll make a scene in the Golden Hall and slit my throat before the emperor. Let's see if your crown prince position can still be held." You're mad, completely unreasonable. Yes, I was mad. I had gone mad the day I severed familial ties. I pointed at Li Chengxian and shouted, "A bunch of scoundrels, get out." The gold hairpin flashed in the sunlight. Li Chengxian, seething with anger, turned and left. Li Chengyu kicked Shen Qingzi viciously before departing. Zhao Wanqing's eyes reddened. "Sister, we mean no harm." Lu Jingxing sighed. "Jingning, you have terribly disappointed me. Get out." A throbbing pain rose between my brows, my temples pulsing. After they left, I personally wrote a large page of characters, "The Crown Prince and dogs not allowed inside." Have the paper posted on my gate so everyone can see it. That day I wrote well over 1,000 copies and ordered them pasted all over the princess residence's north, south, east, and west walls. That way, people on all 4 streets could see them. That night, Li Chengxian was scolded by the emperor. The emperor punished him to come apologize and personally tore down the papers on my residence wall page by page. As he tore them, I watched, following him as he made a circuit of the princess house. After he finished, I realized the princess residence was very large. When Li Chengxian tore down the last sheet, he stared at me coldly, a mocking smile curling at his lips. "Congratulations on winning the emperor's favor, but don't let it go to your head, not compared to His Highness the Prince's favor, who can still be summoned by the emperor late at night, unlike me, who hasn't seen the emperor for 3 months. Li Chengxian snorted and swept his sleeve as he left. I returned to the princess's residence with a feeling of carefree happiness, yet faintly felt someone following me. I said lightly, "Show yourself." Shen Qingzi really rolled out from the grass, rolling and rolling, then quietly knelt at my feet. "Who are you?" I asked. Shen Qingzi thought for a moment and said, "My subordinates can only roll like this, not roll in other ways." Qing Luo could not help but laugh. She whispered in my ear, "Princess, Shen Qingzi has injured his brain. Besides his name, he doesn't remember anything else. Now his brain isn't sharp, whatever others say, he believes. The head of the guards sees his sturdy figure and that he knows some boxing and kicks, so he's kept on as a guard in the mansion." I fell silent. He was indeed a fool, though handsome in appearance. "Today Li Chengyu kicked you once. Does it hurt?" "Hurts. Kicked me in the groin." He said this as he opened his clothes. The speed is unusually fast. His pale bare body rushed into my eyes. I was startled. "Bold, get down," he inwardly cried and curled up, hugging his head, then rolled away like a top. I could not help but laugh. "Hey, stand up, walk back." Shen Qingzi stood up, smiling brightly at me, so white his teeth. I swayed my mind. Such white teeth did not look like they came from an ordinary family. My joy did not last long before someone arrived from the Empress's palace. The nanny who brought the message smiled and said, "The Empress says the princess's copying of the Avatamsaka Sutra was very well done, and asks the princess to copy a Lotus Sutra for Her Majesty as well." I stared at her. The smile on the nanny's face gradually became strained. I said bluntly, "Is the Empress trying to vent on behalf of Li Chengxian? Hands and palms are both flesh. To Her Majesty, the princess and the crown prince are the same. Copying sutras and praying for one's mother is what filial duty requires. If the princess is unwilling, this servant will report back to the Empress." Ha! I lowered my eyes, and a little contempt rose in me. "Tell the Empress I will copy it. When I finish I will deliver it to her myself." The nanny bowed out. I tossed the Lotus Sutra aside and thought without feeling, if I can't finish copying it, I won't have to see her. But in the end I remained agitated and restless. I took Qingluo up the mountain. At the foot of Wn Temple steps, people were climbing up one prostrate bow at a time. Qingluo said that only by doing so could one show sincerity and make vows before the Buddha effective. She also said, "Princess, if you have any wish, say it and I will bow in your place and beg the Buddha to bless you." I was silent for a moment. "No need, I have nothing to ask for." At that time, I was wrapped in loneliness and felt I had nothing left to hold on to in this world. I could never have imagined that later I would beg every god and Buddha in the sky, only to ask for time to turn back so everything could be reclaimed. The vegetarian meal at Wn Temple was excellent. I stayed on the mountain for 3 consecutive days. After 3 days, I took a portion of the meal down the mountain. I urged my horse on and headed straight for the palace. Just as I entered, I ran into the furious Li Chengyu. He stared at me angrily. You still know how to come back. Your mother fell ill from anger because of you. You didn't stay in Her Majesty's chambers to attend to her illness, but ran off to enjoy yourself outside. I've never seen such an unfilial person. I stepped around him. Get out of the way. He flew into a rage and kicked the vegetarian box out of my hand. The meal box tumbled and rolled on the ground, the food scattering everywhere. My eyes narrowed slightly, and I kicked Li Chengyu to the ground. I grabbed his collar viciously and said coldly, "He is my father, what's wrong with treating him well?" I never expected Li Chengyu to suddenly pull out a hairpin and stab at me. I couldn't dodge in time and could only widen my eyes and recoil. Suddenly, a hand shot up in front of me. The hairpin pierced his palm, and dark red blood spattered. With his other hand he tightly gripped the hairpin, pulled it out from his palm, and flung it away. It was Fiancé. His face was ashen, blood welling in his palm, but he still hauled me up and shielded me behind him. At that moment, blood and rage surged through me. I shoved him aside and kicked Li Chengyu like a madwoman, each kick venting the hatred in my heart. Only when several guards intervened to protect him and Fiancé held me did I lose strength and stop. I stared at Li Chengyu, he stared back at me. We looked at each other with a hatred that could eat the other alive. The matter blew up big. The emperor severely punished Li Chengxian, ordering him to shut himself away and reflect. He can come out only after finishing the books the grand tutor assigned, and the Empress Dowager punished me. I knelt outside her bedchamber. She slapped me hard, for a mere guard. "You beat your own brother, you have no discipline left." I covered my face and laughed. "Your daughter thinks she and the Empress Dowager are becoming more alike. Both protect outsiders and treat kin like mortal enemies. Your daughter must be the Empress Dowager's own." I stared fixedly at her expression, trying to find a clue. Unfortunately, there was none. She simply flared up in anger. "Ungrateful one. Are you mocking me? Your daughter would never dare. Your daughter is proud to resemble the Empress Dowager." She pointed at me and roared, "Get out, return to your princess residence, and without an imperial edict you shall never set foot in the palace again." I fought the numbness in my knees and slowly left the Empress Dowager's bedchamber. Zhao Wanqing hurried after me. Her face looked especially gentle in the glow of the palace lamps. She smiled lightly. "Sister looks so disheveled, it's truly pitiable to see. Let me escort you out of the palace. I'm afraid you won't be able to open the palace gates yourself." She dropped the act. She bared her claws and brazenly announced the Empress Dowager's favoritism. I suddenly raised my foot and kicked Zhao Wanqing hard in the knee. "One kick, 2 kicks, take that. What am I afraid of?" She uttered an "ah" and collapsed to her knees. I grabbed her face and snarled, "Dare to provoke me again and I'll slash your face." A sound of torn clothing sliced the air, and several guards knelt before me, their voices grave. "Princess, please release the county princess." I stared at their uniforms. A flash of memory struck me. When I beat Li Chengyu, a few secret guards had also been protecting him, so Empress Mother had given her secret guards to Zhao Wanqing and Li Chengyu. But me, her own daughter, not a single secret guard. My heart turned cold as ice. I let go of her face without emotion and turned away, quickening my steps. I waited at the palace gate until dawn before I could leave without trouble. Outside the palace, Qing Luo was anxiously waiting for me. When she saw me she sprang forward. I held her and couldn't help but whisper, "Qing Luo, am I really Mother Empress's biological daughter?" Qing Luo gently patted my back to comfort me. You are the true princess of Daning. Is that so?" I didn't believe it. "Then why do they all have secret guards while I have none?" Qing Luo choked up, "Princess, you are the best princess, you have us." Fiancé suddenly dropped to one knee. "Your Highness, from today on, I am your secret guard." Fiancé really became my secret guard, except when I sent him out to change dressings. At other times he was like a shadow, detectable, yet invisible. I asked him why he stepped in front of me. His clear eyes held a sincerity that came from the heart. This is what a guard should do. I wasn't entirely satisfied with that answer. I couldn't quite put my finger on why. "If you were Zhao Wanqing's guard, would you protect her too?" He frowned. "I would only serve as your Highness's guard." "Why?" "No reason really. "I will only be your highness's guard," he said with determination. I felt a trace of secret joy, perhaps the joy of possessing something Zhao Wanqing had never had. Mother Empress, to vent her anger for Zhao Wanqing, ordered Father Emperor to make her a princess. Father Emperor delayed making a decision, but the news had already spread beyond the palace. Qing Luo was furious, yet helpless, and could only grit her teeth. A fake is a fake. No matter how you pretend, you can't be compared with the true phoenix. At night, I couldn't sleep and wandered in the yard. Shen Qingzi quietly followed me, silently stepping on my shadow. He thought I didn't notice. My playfulness rose. I turned around behind him, stepped on his shadow. "You're pressed down by me. Don't move." He indeed didn't move at all. I smiled, walked away. He didn't follow. I looked back at him. He smiled slightly. "Your Highness, you haven't untangled my shadow yet." So stupid, I couldn't help bursting into laughter. He laughed along. In that moment, I suddenly understood. I don't want Zhao Wanqing to be pleased. She's already sufficiently conceited. A little sadness should come, and it shouldn't be just me who's sad. The next day I rose early, hurried to Waynan Temple, took a meal offering, and rode back at full speed before the midday meal, personally delivering it into the palace. The guards at the gate stopped me. I understood. It was the Empress Dowager's decree, so I waited where the ministers left the court. From morning until night, every day I went early to Waynan Temple to get a meal offering. Every day I appeared at the gate where the ministers entered court. Finally, on the third day, I saw the emperor. His eyes were deep. He sighed long, sounding somewhat weary. "What do you want?" I opened my mouth, wanting to say some flattering words. I wanted to say that I had seen many people outside Waynan Temple climbing the mountain, kowtowing step by step, only to beg the Buddha for protection. I wanted to say that I was luckier than they were. Not only could I ask the Buddha for protection, I could also ask the Emperor Father to protect me. I also wanted to say that I had not been happy these days. It felt as if there were a hole in my heart, a hole that was getting more and more ragged, but I couldn't bring any of it out. Tears swam in my eyes. I lowered my head, knelt on the ground, and whispered, "Your daughter only asks that the Emperor Father favor her a little more. Your daughter has only the Emperor Father." My forehead pressed against the cool ground, my mind wildly wondering whether the Emperor Father would be angry, but he remained silent. After a long while, he slowly said, "I understand. When I left the palace, I didn't know whether I had succeeded. I glanced back at that palace with its golden roofs and jade tiles, feeling its grandeur and immovability. Time passed little by little. The imperial edict appointing Zhao Wanqing as a princess never arrived. My heart gradually eased, and a faint suspicion arose that perhaps I had not been particularly favored after all. Meanwhile, Father was occupied with other matters. This year brought excessive rain, the south suffered floods, and in the north, just at harvest time, persistent drizzle set in. Worried, I reduced my outings, but every day a flower would appear on my desk. It was picked by Shen Qingzi. Qing Luo joyfully placed the flower in a vase and said with a smile, "He has a conscience after all. Remember, it was the princess who brought him back." But one day he didn't bring flowers back. Instead he returned covered in wounds and tried to hide it so I wouldn't find out. But how could I not know? I guessed and knew something had happened. I asked him who had hurt him. He bit his lip and wouldn't speak. I said coldly, "Tell me." He shook his head and only said, "I'll get them back someday." He seemed to have gotten smarter, no longer the fool who used to say something and that was that. Angry, I left. He didn't speak, but I could find out for myself. The one who beat people was the crown prince, only because someone mentioned that Shen Qingzi and the crown prince's side profile were extremely similar. The crown prince at that moment had a prince-like demeanor, smiled and let it go. Afterwards, he hunted down Shen Qingzi who had risen at dawn to pick flowers, and beat her bloody. If Shen Qingzi hadn't struggled to escape with all her might, she would likely have died there. Knowing it was the crown prince who did it, I remained unusually calm. You strike the snake at its 7 inches. If I wanted revenge, I had to make him suffer. So, when the crown prince should have gone somewhere to collect disaster relief silver to win the people's hearts, a rash appeared all over him. He couldn't stand the wind, and he had to stay in bed to recuperate. This task fell on the hands of Imperial Consort Wan's son, the second Prince Li Chengyu, the second prince. Because Imperial Consort Wn had died, had been depressed and neglected by his father for years, and now, suddenly taking up the task, was moved to tears and swore loyalty. On the day he set off with the troops, he sat on the horse with a lofty bearing and high spirits, heading south all the way. The crown prince, by contrast, was smeared with medicinal paste from head to toe, naked and smashing things in the room. He said there was a ghost in this matter, and he would investigate thoroughly. But after investigation, it landed on Zhao Wanqing. He suddenly fell silent. Zhao Wanqing cried that she knew nothing about the matters. She didn't even know there were lychees in her heart. And didn't know that the crown prince would break out in a rash if he ate lychees. This was a secret belonging only to Li Chengxian. Only the Empress Dowager and Li Chengxian knew it, not even Li Chengyu. What Li Chengxian could do was only forgive her later. Zhao Wanqing and I met at the dust-curtaining banquet welcoming the second prince's return. She smiled and whispered in my ear, "Sister, Brother Crown Prince knows you're the one behind the ruse. He has sent you a great gift, please accept it." With a smile. Soon after, the Empress Dowager pointed at a young man at the guest bench and said, "General Song's third son looks refined and promising. Has he been married?" General Song was overjoyed and hurried to prostrate and answer. My heart tightened. General Song's family was a martial one. Perhaps after hearing some wandering adventurer's words, they feared that sons who led troops would be resented by the emperor, so the Song family split into two groups. One group followed General Song into battle to win military merit, the other pursued the civil service track through the imperial exams. Song Sanlang, since childhood, was not good at martial arts, so he could only study. Unfortunately, he wasn't good at study either, and instead learned the manner of a prodigal son to a perfect degree. The Empress Dowager had once sighed that the beginning of Song family's troubles perhaps lay on Song Sanlang, and now she actually complimented Song Sanlang as having a pleasing appearance. If she told a lie, would she not fear thunder strikes from the heavens? Yet what would be more thunderous punchlines come later. The Empress Dowager smiled. "My Ning is unmarried as well, General Song. Would you be interested?" I froze to the bone, stood up to refuse. Zhao Wanqing let out a cry, and she threw herself into my arms. I instinctively reached out to catch her. She hugged me, weakly laughing. "Thank you, sister. I just felt dizzy a moment ago." The crowd rushed over, and I could not stand upright. With her interference, this matter was settled. General Song knelt to thank, and the Empress Dowager nodded with a smile and rose from her seat. My gaze was cold as I looked at Zhao Wanqing, and with a loosened grip I knocked her to the floor. The cups and dishes toppled and smashed all over her. She was dazed, too shocked to cry. Lu Jingxing and Li Chengxian strode forward. Lu Jingxing unhesitatingly shed his outer robe, shielding the soaked Zhao Wanqing and embracing her, then glared at me. Zhao Wanqing's tears flowed down her face, crying uncontrollably. Li Chengxian then assumed the crown prince's bearing and lectured me. Jingning apologized to Duanhua. This was the first time Li Chengxian and I had a public, face-to-face quarrel. Before, no matter how we bickered in the palace, we presented a united front. As mother said, brother and sister are one body, shared honor, shared shame. But ever since someone pasted the paper on the gate that read, "The Crown Prince and dogs are not allowed inside," everyone knew the Crown Prince and I were at odds. People stared at me. I felt their malice, their sympathy. I said coldly, "Don't think you can get your way with this. Even if I die, it won't be as you wish." As the legitimate eldest princess, to make a fuss about life and death at every turn, what kind of propriety is that? Is marrying into the Song household such a humiliation for you? Li Chengxian looked disappointed, as if I truly were his close kin. How ironic, Your Highness the Crown Prince, you arranged this marriage for me. Your intentions are obvious to everyone, and I am ashamed of you. I stormed off in fury. I went to the rear palace and, as usual, was stopped at the gate. In that instant, all my impulse to confront mother dissipated. I kowtowed 3 times toward Cunning Palace. First kowtow for the grace of giving birth, second kowtow for the grace of raising me, third kowtow for the grace of breaking ties, allowing me to sever obligations with a clear conscience. I rose and said coldly to the guards at the gate, "Tell mother for me. Congratulations on your satisfaction, henceforth you will have only one daughter, Zhao Wanqing." I staggered away, inexplicably relieved. At the palace gate I ran into Song Sanlang. His fat body cowered in a corner. When he saw me he suddenly leapt out and was grabbed by Shen Qingxi. It hurts, your highness. Have mercy, I just wanted to speak with you." Song Sanlang's eyes were about to fill with tears. I felt a little cowardly and somewhat pleased. Shen Qingxi's brow was tightly furrowed. Not only did he not loosen his grip, he pressed harder. Tears really did stream down Song Sanlang's face. I signaled for Shen Qingxi to release him and said lightly, "Speak." Song Sanlang wiped his eyes with his sleeve and, aggrieved, whispered, "I know your highness disdains me, but I've been living a dissipated life just fine. I don't want to put a mountain on my own head." I scrutinized Song Sanlang closely. I admit I had been influenced by mother and had a prejudice against him, but now I found him somewhat intriguing. Song Sanlang said again, "Parents' orders, matchmaker's words, your highness cannot resist, and I cannot resist either. Please do not blame me. Why don't we think of a way together to refuse this marriage?" He was right, but I could not trust him easily. I asked, "What brilliant idea do you have?" Song Sanlang said smugly, "Your highness, wait for my news." I was anxious and could only wait. Before long, news spread that Song Sanlang had been frequenting brothels. Then came word that he had been severely beaten by General Song. Soon after there were reports that Song Sanlang had been thrown naked out of a brothel. Now General Song was escorting Song Sanlang to apologize to mother. It seemed another beating was inevitable. Qing Luo both disliked and found it amusing. This Song Sanlang isn't exactly bad, he just doesn't have good ideas. He used self-degradation, thinking that by making himself worthless mother would disdain him. He had no idea mother loathed me and simply wanted me to marry someone she disliked. After several ordeals, Song Sanlang was half dead. He sent someone to tell me he couldn't endure any longer and that I was on my own. Shen Qingxi and I visited the Song residence at night. Song Sanlang lay in bed, his face swollen like a pig's head, with wounds on his buttocks, groaning on the mattress. When he saw me, he wept like rain, "Your highness." Shen Qingxi's fists tightened. I frowned. I had thought General Song was just putting on an act, but it turned out to be quite serious. Yet since things had come this far, there was nothing to do but make them worse. My mother put my wedding back on the schedule, and soon she sent the trial marriage maid. When the maid left the Song residence, she reported back truthfully, so everyone learned that Song Sanlang was impotent. My mother dispatched wave after wave of imperial physicians to the Song residence, and finally confirmed that Song Sanlang truly was incapable. My mother turned her suspicious gaze toward me. She sent the nanny to the princess's residence to ask how my copying of the Lotus Sutra was going. I raised my arm and smiled. "I can only copy sutras for Her Majesty the Empress once my injury has healed." "Has the princess really been injured?" the nanny doubted, her voice skeptical. My gaze went ice cold. Perhaps my fate and Song Sanlang's are incompatible. If he is no good, neither am I. "The match was thanks to Her Majesty the Empress," the nanny said. "The Empress has said it. No matter how the princess fusses, this marriage is set in stone and cannot be changed." I laughed. "To outsiders I am still the Empress's daughter. If I err, others will blame me. And naturally they will blame the Empress too. The Empress has been eager to win over the Song family. But I wonder now what General Song thinks of Her Majesty." The nanny's face changed drastically and she hurried away. Song Sanlang quietly asked me when I would give him the antidote. He feared that if things went on, the girl he loved most would become someone else's. I said, "Once a monk or for life a monk, you can surely tell the difference." Song Sanlang fell silent. After his wound healed, he spent his days in melancholic mourning, making his father miserable. Every time General Song visited a concubine's chamber, he cried outside. After a while, he hadn't gone mad, but General Song was close to it, and couldn't really kill his illegitimate son. There was no choice. General Song asked to break off the engagement himself. My mother took the opportunity and cancelled the betrothal. That episode taught me a lesson. the suffering of others is of no consequence to those in high places. Only when their own interests are directly harmed do they begin to care about your pain. On the day the engagement was broken, Li Chengxian stormed into the princess's residence with fierce momentum and said coldly, "Without the Song family, there are still the Zhu, Zhao, and Wang families. Do you think you can escape?" I opened the door and said calmly, "Then tomorrow, the young men of the Zhu, Zhao, and Wang families may also prove impotent. I hope His Highness the Crown Prince will still be able to win hearts then. You dare?" I laughed softly, baring my white teeth. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, don't try to reason with a madwoman." He looked shocked, taking step after step back, then sneered, "Then by all means try. The person you want to marry, would he dare refuse to marry you?" He laughed triumphantly as he left. I stared at his retreating figure, hatred creeping up inside me. He was right. I could use imperial power to avoid marrying someone I didn't want. But he could also use that power to make sure I could never marry the one I did. That night I sat on the roof drinking. Cup after cup, Shen Qingzi gently took my wine cup. "Your Highness, you're drunk." "Ha," I drained the wine gourd in one gulp. "Shen Qingzi, if you were in my position, how would you break the deadlock?" Shen Qingzi frowned and fell silent. When he carried me to bed, his brow remained furrowed. It was clear he was seriously thinking about it. I turned over and fell into a deep sleep. The next day he gave me his answer. "Then choose someone with no 9 clans, who isn't afraid to die, and who truly admires your Highness. Where on earth would one find such a person? Look carefully, you'll find one." Shen Qingzi's cheeks flushed as she leapt up. The Empress Dowager still hadn't given up trying to find someone for me to marry. Only now did she seem to realize that I was no longer under her control, and she forcefully wanted to take charge of my marriage. The young men she chose for me each had their own traits, but without exception they were useless sons of powerful families. I don't want to be hurt because of her, yet I still doubt myself. Am I at fault? Did I do something wrong? Should I not have been born in the Empress Dowager's womb? At the mid-autumn banquet, sovereign and ministers feasted together. The young men favored by the Empress Dowager were all present, each obedient as a quail. Now everyone in the capital knew that the Princess of Nanping had fallen out of favor. No one wanted to marry me, and I didn't want to marry anyone. Knowing a mismatched couple would be formed, I nonetheless insisted on sitting at the same table today. A cloud of gloom gathered in my chest, making it hard to breathe. I lifted the teacup to take a sip, but no sooner had I raised it than I sensed something was wrong. I gripped the cup tightly, pointed at the maid who had just brought me the tea, and said coldly, "Stop." The Empress Dowager frowned, displeased. I didn't care. As the maid pretended not to hear and tried to leave, I quickly seized her shoulder and forced the tea into her mouth. The Empress Dowager was furious. "Jingning, what sort of behavior is this?" Behavior? In the past, I had been too proper. And that's why I was bullied to this extent. "Mother, what are you in such a hurry for? Are you afraid of what reaction she will have from drinking the tea?" "Ridiculous. What do you look like now?" "Mother, what do I look like?" I stared at her, a twinge of sourness in my heart. I feel like a madwoman, like an abandoned child. And I no longer resemble the proud and confident Li Jingning I used to be. Mother's bright eyes narrowed slightly, and there was unmistakable dislike between her brows. At this moment, the palace maid trembled all over, her eyes filled with confusion and desire, her face flushing as she tugged at her clothes, torn between self-respect and lust. This scene startled everyone. The perceptive ones immediately understood what had happened to this maid. And that cup of tea was originally meant for me. The maid was quickly dragged away. I became eerily calm inside, waiting to see how Mother would explain this. Empress Dowager opened her mouth, but finally sank her face. "I will thoroughly investigate this matter. Anyone in the palace who commits such filthy acts, I will not let them off lightly once I uncover them." "Ha!" I scoffed softly, flipped the table, and turned to leave. The Empress Mother was furious. Li Jingning. I ignored her. I didn't trust her. I couldn't count on the Empress Mother. I had to get justice for myself. So, at the Crown Prince's banquet, the Jinwen gathering that hosted countless scholars, the prince drank heartily and, unsteady on his feet, was supported into a room to change. At that moment, I, still disguised as a man, pulled a string of firecrackers from my sleeve, lit them, and threw them to the ground. The crackling scared everyone. People scattered in all directions, some hiding in rooms, and numerous guards rushed into the prince's chamber to protect him, with Lu Jingxing leading the charge. From inside the room came the sounds of a man and a woman struggling. "Brother Crown Prince, don't, Duanhua, be good." That day, everyone knew, there was a woman hidden in the Crown Prince's room. That woman was also the prince's cousin, Zhao Wanqing. The two of them had been pulling and tugging, nearly committing an indecent act. Lu Jingxing let out the furious cry of a man who has been cuckolded, separated them, quickly wrapped Zhao Wanqing in clothing, and stared at the dazed Crown Prince with eyes full of hatred. I watched coldly, snorted, and went to the palace, deliberately kneeling at the entrance of my father's bedchamber to accept punishment. This deed had been done by me. It would be easy to trace. Knowing I couldn't evade it, I came forward to take the punishment first. Before long, the Crown Prince stormed in enraged. As he passed me he kicked me hard, again and again. "Bitch, I knew it was you, why did you harm me?" I grabbed his ankle, he lost his balance and fell on his backside, yet still kicked me viciously. We wrestled together, as we had when we were children. Eventually the palace maids and eunuchs pulled us apart, but we still lunged at each other, as if we would tear the other to pieces. How could once close siblings become like this? The emperor thundered with rage, angrily questioning us. I also want to know, how could once close siblings become like this? When we were young, palace maids neglected me. Li Chengxian stood up for me. Then when they were replaced, he personally taught me how to govern those below me, telling me that a ruler must use both kindness and authority. I repaid him with concern and thoughtfulness. When he was punished by the emperor I pleaded for him. When he couldn't answer the Grand Tutor's questions I offered him strategies. I even hurled a stone at the Grand Tutor's head because he had scolded him. "Why are we like this now?" Li Chengxian roared. "I don't have a sister like that." With a slap, the emperor struck his face. He did not blame the emperor, he stared at me with hatred. After a long while he came to his senses, guilt appearing on his face. "Father, I was wrong. I should protect my younger siblings. Even if they err, I should teach them patiently, not resort to blows." His answer was flawless. He bowed his head submissively, so he did not see how deeply disappointed the emperor looked. "You may say it, but your heart may not be convinced. You have had it too easy. At the first setback you resort to killing. You are the Crown Prince. You must learn how to be a ruler. I never want to hear words like that from you again. Come inside and tell me where you were wrong." Li Chengxian obediently followed the emperor into the study. I remained kneeling there, ignored. After a long time Li Chengxian emerged with reddened eyes. Passing by me he snorted coldly. "You should be grateful you're my full sister, or else." I looked up and met his gaze calmly. "Wrong. This is perhaps my greatest misfortune." After he left, the emperor called me in, his brows betraying fatigue. "You made me show favoritism toward you, and this is how you repay me. The Crown Prince is your elder brother and heir apparent. You rebel against your superior and use such despicable methods. Do you understand your fault?" All my fervent hopes turned to ice. I had waited so long for this outcome. What else could I have expected? I raised my eyes, hollow. "Father, I don't understand what I did wrong. Must the one who is framed meekly accept being harmed? If she fights back, is that treason deserving death? If the world is like that, then the world is wrong. If this world cannot contain me, then kill me to repay my parents for bringing me into the world." I closed my eyes, tilted my head back, and presented my neck to die. The emperor was furious. "You threaten me. Father, when I was little, you told me, if others do not provoke me, I will not provoke them. If they provoke me, I will surely punish them. That is for enemies, not for kin." The emperor cut me off. I fell silent. Kin who are cruel are more terrifying than enemies. After all, an enemy cannot get that close to me. The emperor said, "I'll give you 1 month to find a suitable husband. If you cannot, you will accept your mother's arrangements." I bowed and agreed, staggering out in a daze. The emperor called after me. "That day, it wasn't your mother, don't blame her." He was defending my mother, but what difference did it make? The greatest support behind Li Chengxian was my mother. Without her backing, would he and Zhao Wanqing have dared to do this? The matter between the crown prince and Zhao Wanqing was suppressed, but in a city as small as the capital, everyone who needed to know did. The crown prince withdrew from the Eastern Palace, keeping a low profile. Zhao Wanqing wept day after day, not leaving the house. It was said she had become traumatized about the ceremony room, afraid to enter it alone, and Lu Jingxing, having fallen out with the crown prince, had not gone to the Eastern Palace to serve as the prince's study companion for many days. One day, after an unknown stimulus overwhelmed him, he rushed to the princess's residence and went berserk, smashing many objects. He pointed at me and said, "I never expected you to be so cruel and vicious. Knowing you for 16 years is the shame of my life. If there is a next life, I would rather never know you." My heart was as calm as still water. I simply told the people not to stop him and let him smash as he pleased. After he had smashed everything, I ordered the servants to haul the fragments to the Xiong mansion and laid out a list, clearly detailing the prices of the items, totaling several 10,000 taels of silver. I only instructed the servants that if the Xiong mansion refused to compensate, I would spread this matter far and wide and report it to the capital's yamen. Luo Xiong did not dare to agree, asking for a grace period of a few days. 3 days later, the Xiong mansion publicly handed over several 10,000 taels of silver to the princess's residence. They made a grand procession, banging gongs and drums, drawing in countless people. The Lu family intended to make a big scene, to let the crowd see my greedy nature. I did not hesitate to accept it and immediately divided the silver into 3 parts. One part for the capital's orphanage to raise abandoned babies, another for the Pujiyuan to aid the weak elderly, and a third part for the Huimin Drug Bureau to help those who cannot obtain medicine or medical care. As soon as these 3 sums were distributed, the people cheered in unison, "Long live the princess." The Xiong mansion's people slunk away in defeat. Lu Jingxing, upon returning, received a beating. He insisted that he had done nothing wrong. After leaving home, he went to drown his sorrows in wine, only to be ambushed on the way back by someone who covered him with a sack and beat him severely. I heard he was beaten badly and would be bedridden for 10 days to a half a month. The Xiong mansion saw doctors coming and going all night, and even Zhao Wanqing no longer pretended to be meek, going to the Xiong mansion to offer her regards. When I learned of this, I felt contemplative. I thought of Shen Qingxi's hands that were reddened and the injuries on the finger joints. He must have fought hard. After all, a wretch's skin is thick, so his hands must have hurt a lot. I ordered someone to give him some ointment. He paused momentarily, then flushed with color. "Your Highness, do you blame me? Do you blame me for shielding my master too much? If you don't shield the master, you won't be my clandestine guard anymore. But do you want to change your identity?" Shen Qingxi's eyes suddenly darkened. He knelt on one knee and spoke quickly. "Your Highness, I don't want freedom." My breath hitched. Did he think I'll let him go? How could that be possible? "Then you'd better not regret it." Shen Qingxi, "No, I will never regret. These past days, an unprecedented peace has settled in my heart. I have realized that I am someone who exacts revenge over every slight. Those who bully me are unfortunate, and I truly would be happy. But what brought me even greater joy were the thanks from the infant care hall, the Puji clinic, and the Huimin pharmacy, childish doodles, poorly written letters of gratitude, and praise from physicians suddenly filled the hollow part of me. It turns out that once freed from the grudges and grievances of the Forbidden Palace, there are actually many other things I can do, pitying the poor and caring for the elderly, paying attention to people's livelihoods outside the inner chambers. There seems to be a much broader world. As the most benevolent patron of the infant care hall, the Puji Institute, and the Huimin pharmacy, I often accompany Shen Qingxi to these places. Those people do not seek high official posts or great wealth. They only ask for clothes to cover their bodies, food to fill their stomachs, medicine to treat illness, care for the elderly, and protection for the young. It is only now that I understand the principles written in the books. Those who govern the country should regard benefiting the people as the foundation and uphold righteous learning as the basis. When the world is orderly, the people are prosperous. when the world is peaceful, the people are happy. When the world prospers, the people strive toward righteousness. If the people are not prosperous, the country is not prosperous. If the people are not happy, the country is not at peace. If the people's customs are not upright, the nation will not flourish. Those words that once seemed obscure suddenly become crystal clear to me at this moment. For several days in a row my routine was fixed. I was out early and back late every day, making the rounds of the infant care hall, the Pujii, and the Huimin pharmacy. So when I encountered the assassin on the road, I wasn't at all flustered. Not only was I calm, I even calmly directed the guards to counter-kill the attacker. As for Shen Qingzi, he caught Li Chengyu, who had been hiding at a distance watching. Li Chengyu panicked. "Bitch, let me go." Slap. I delivered the slap without hesitation. "You attacked me. How dare you?" I wasn't just beating him, I was dragging him through the capital in disgrace. I stuffed him into a sack and dragged him through the streets, making everyone swear I'd captured the assassin on the road. The crowd murmured, chanting that the assassin deserved death. Li Chengyu kept his mouth tightly shut, afraid to utter another word that might reveal his identity. Once inside the palace, I sought an audience with my father. Kneeling before him, I whispered, "Father, I've found my ideal prince consort. I beg you to grant us the marriage." My father relaxed slightly and smiled. "Oh, which family's son did you choose?" I gently pulled Shen Qingzi beside me and said, "I've chosen him. I implore you to make this marriage happen." Father's smile faded. "You are the rightful eldest princess, the first daughter of mine. How could you marry a guard as your husband?" I had a momentary confusion. His tone was solemn, as if I were a pearl and treasure, yet it was clear that they were the ones who had discarded me for years. I do not want to persuade my father. Today I have come for negotiation. I lowered my voice and said, "On the way back to the capital today, my daughter was attacked. The assassin is here. Please, Father, uphold justice for your daughter." I clapped my hands, and the sack was opened, revealing Li Chengyu's frightened face. Father looked at me, then at Li Chengyu, who was almost crying in fear, and his expression darkened. "Did you really assassinate your elder sister?" I just want to teach him a lesson." With a thud, the weighty gavel struck the ground. Li Chengyu closed his mouth, trembling as he knelt there. His imperial father sighed deeply, lost in thought. Perhaps even His Majesty could no longer persuade himself that his several children could coexist peacefully. He raised his hand, signaling me to step down. We waited outside the door, and not long after I received the imperial edict granting me betrothal to Shen Qingzi. Inside, Li Chengyu was wailing like a ghost and a wolf. "Father, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I dare not do it again." On the way out of the palace, I encountered my hurried mother empress. She lifted her hand and slapped me, tears streaming down hotly. I suddenly felt a strong desire for revenge. "Your Imperial Majesty, do you know why I can catch Li Chengyu? Because I know that given his nature, as soon as he loosens the ban, he will never spare me. There is a saying, there can be thieves for 1,000 days, but not a thief-proof day. So I purposely went out of the city every day, just to lure him. I didn't expect him to be so stupid. He actually came. What to do? Your Majesty, he did not pass on even a hint of your wit and intelligence to me. He may be good for nothing, but he is still your younger brother. How dare you behave like this?" He said it himself. His sister's name is Zhao Wanqing. When you have time, teach him more. Don't jump at rumors and rush to be used as someone else's tool. This time luck was on his side and he met me. Next time, he might not be so fortunate. I made a throat-slitting gesture and turned away. After walking a very long way, I finally ran out of strength and stumbled. Shen Qingzi steadied me firmly. His chin rested lightly against the top of my head. "Your Highness, if you want to cry, go ahead and cry." Tears fell, soaking through Shen Qingzi's clothes. I felt as if I had one, but the fear in my heart told me I had lost completely. The love of my parents and siblings would probably have nothing more to do with me in this life. Just after Li Chengyu was released, he was put under house arrest again. Meanwhile, the marriage between Shen Qingzi and me was arranged. The Ministry of Rites prepared the ceremony without much care, and I didn't make a fuss about it either. I had married the person I wanted to marry. This man had no clan ties, feared no death, and loved me with all his heart. In that moment, I was grateful to heaven for sending me such a person. Fiancé didn't care about status either. He took me everywhere, in the city and beyond, so I learned what late autumn looks like. Mountains and rivers stretching for miles, all gilded in gold. In decay there is fullness, red is passionate, yellow dazzling, yet the harvested fruit does not sell well. Later still, the sky grows clear and the water pure at dawn, but night rains bring sorrow. Some dilapidated houses in the capital are near collapse. Early winter approaches, hail clouds like a canopy, startling snow like dust. The thickness of clothing reveals a family's wealth or poverty. The more I saw, the more I realized how much there is to be done in governing the country. This was something I had never considered within the high walls of the Forbidden Palace before, because my eyes only saw splendor and wealth, embroidery and silver glint. I could not see how the corners of the capital hid so much hardship. I tried cutting the expenses of the princess's residence and used the saved silver for practical projects. As for the wedding items sent by the Ministry of Rites, I converted as much as possible into silver. Some said I was obsessed with money, but they did not know that I felt an unprecedented peace within. Yet this was all I could do. The wedding day arrived as scheduled, compared with any princess's wedding before mine. Mine could be called austere, but the number of lucky children, widows and orphans, and the sick who came to congratulate me reached into the thousands. None of the guests were charged. Instead, there were red envelopes for them to take. The people rejoiced together. The common folk celebrated something others did not have. When word of this reached the palace, the Empress Dowager said I was making trouble. Li Chengxian said I was buying people's hearts. Zhao Wanqing complained plaintively, saying what would future princesses do? Must they do the same? Only the emperor sent a handwritten inscription, "Rejoice with the people." I had the characters mounted and hung on the princess's residence door for all to see. It became a sight in the capital. Many newly arrived scholars and students came to pay respects, praying for the emperor's blessing. The marriage is settled, no one can manipulate me anymore, and I am in very good spirits, except for the occasional trip to the palace for festivals. Nothing else troubles me. Instead, I encountered Lu Jingxing a few times. He seemed distracted and as if he had suffered a great blow. I heard that ever since that incident between Zhao Wanqing and the crown prince, he could no longer calmly face the crown prince. He resigned his post at the Eastern Palace and grew estranged from Zhao Wanqing. Even though Zhao Wanqing demeaned herself and tried every way to please him, he remained heavy-hearted. People even caught him at the brothel drowning his sorrows in drink, mouthing Zhao Wanqing's name with a look of deep affection. Fiancé snorted with contempt when he heard this. I won't go drink at brothels. If you truly love someone, you should restrain your actions, not run wild in the name of love. Whenever he gets drunk and lets himself go, everyone says Zhao Wanqing has wronged him. Where does that leave Zhao Wanqing? I nodded in agreement. Don't worry, I won't let anyone climb into my bed either. Fiancé was astonished, as if realizing for the first time that a princess could actually have paramours. He suddenly seemed to feel threatened. Those days my waist never recovered until he coaxed me into saying, "For this life, you are the only one." Before long, the rebellion in Fuzhou was finally pacified. The court praised Zhao Wanqing's father as a model among officials and honored Zhao Wanqing's mother with the title of first-rank imperial consort. Zhao Wanqing received a fief and held her head high, becoming the most envied noble lady in the capital with invitations to countless banquets. She and Lu Jingxing took this opportunity to rekindle their relationship. They recited poetry and enjoyed the moon, surrounded by flowers and splendor, living happily, until one day, the two of them hurried to the princess's residence, bringing back Fiancé covered in blood. Zhao Wanqing was in tears. "Sister, it was truly unintentional. I didn't know that the arrow I shot so casually would hit my brother-in-law. I deserve to die. Sister, punish me." She knelt down and slapped herself repeatedly. Lu Jingxing was distraught. He pulled Zhao Wanqing up and placed her behind him protectively. "It's my fault. I shouldn't have taught you archery, Your Highness the Princess. Blame me if you must, but I must make this clear. When the arrow was shot, no one knew the prince consort was there. Smack, smack, I slapped Lu Jingxing twice. Get out of my way. If anyone delays the prince consort's treatment, I will kill them and avenge him. The two mouths finally fell silent. I gripped Shen Qingxi's hand and called his name desperately, pressing on his wound. He moved his eyes, and with difficulty his voice escaped his throat. My name, Jingning, I'm here, you'll be safe and sound. The physician continued his treatment in the room while I forced Zhao Wanqing and Lu Jingxing to kneel outside with a sword in hand. Lu Jingxing resisted. I kicked his knee, pinning him down on the ground. With guards, his face flushed and neck swollen, he declared with ironclad certainty, if I'm guilty, let the Jingzhou prefecture handle it, not the princess's secret torture. I struck him with a whip. Now you know the law applies to me. Why didn't you follow it when smashing my property? Why when using power for personal gain, you lowlife only remember what benefits you? He stared at me in disbelief, finally realizing my utter indifference. Jingning, watch him. If the prince consort needs help, I'll kill him to avenge him. The imperial physician shook his head, saying Shen Qingxi's recovery depended on fate. At that moment, my world seemed to collapse. How could I accept such destiny? I refused to submit. I glared at Zhao Wanqing. The moment she entered the capital, everything changed. She'd robbed my parents, brothers, and fiancé, and now sought to make me a young widow. How vicious. I hated her. I wished she'd vanish instantly. Zhao Wanqing trembled. Sister, I'm kneeling. I didn't mean to. If I die, my brother-in-law will wake up. I'd rather die myself than die with hatred. I lashed her face. Zhao Wanqing recoiled toward Lu Jingxing, who caught the blow. His hands were drenched in blood. He said in a hesitant voice, Your Highness, is this enough? How is that enough? Even killing them 10 times wouldn't be enough. I glared at Zhao Wanqing and said coldly, Go beg Physician Yang. If he doesn't come, I'll have you buried with him. Physician Yang was the volunteer doctor at Huimin Pharmacy and also the master of the director of the Imperial Medical Bureau in the capital. He was devoted to helping the people, so he did not serve in the palace. Moreover, he hated the powerful oppressing others, so I couldn't be sure he'd agree to come treat the patient. Every time I went to Huimin Pharmacy, he would merely nod at me and then ignore me. Zhao Wanqing went to Huimin Pharmacy. She sobbed as she told the story, concealing that she had shot the prince consort. But what kind of man was Physician Yang? He frowned and asked directly, Who wounded the prince consort? Zhao Wanqing cried and refused to say, only pounding her head and begging Physician Yang to save him, saying I would kill her if he didn't. The crowd watching grew larger. Physician Yang's face darkened. He looked displeased. I clearly understood his mindset. Zhao Wanqing had put him on a moral pedestal, and he was torn between hatred of being pressured by the powerful and the compassion of a healer. I sympathized with him. Many times, I felt the same, unable to speak, but Physician Yang was obviously more composed than I. He quietly instructed the little apothecary boy beside him a few words, then stared at Zhao Wanqing. He said coldly, What have I done to be forced by the commandery princess like this? I only want to know the facts to avoid being used by someone with ill intent, nothing more. But the commandery princess avoids the main issue and won't answer my questions, only keeps crying. Her tears may work on others, but I have seen life and death. Tears are useless to me. I will ask one question. Who shot the prince consort? Zhao Wanqing's face flushed, tears streaking like pear blossoms. She cried pitifully. The apothecary boy, however, ran over from a distance and shouted, Master, I found out. It was the commandery princess who shot the prince consort. She shot him on purpose, aiming at his chest. Zhao Wanqing was stunned. I didn't do it on purpose. It was an accidental mistake. Physician Yang's face grew stern. In my life I despised deceit and people without responsibility. A commandery princess who causes trouble yet blames the prince consort and asks him to be killed, such a character I cannot associate with. Commandery princess, please leave. But the prince consort will die. Zhao Wanqing seemed genuinely worried about Shen Qingxi. Master Physician Yang chuckled. Isn't that exactly what the commandery princess wished for? Within a day everyone knew. Zhao Wanqing had tried to kill Shen Qingxi, had tried to kill my prince consort. Some said Zhao Wanqing was jealous of the affection between me and the consort and did it on purpose. Others said ever since Zhao Wanqing arrived, my situation had worsened day by day. It seemed the commandery princess really did resent the princess. I listened to these neighborhood rumors and thought that finally someone with eyes had seen the truth. How good at night, Master Physician. Yang came to the princess mansion by moonlight. He repeatedly apologized and said he had come late. I felt grateful. He really had not come late. His apothecary boy's first act upon arriving was to ask about the imperial physician's diagnosis. When he learned the head of the imperial medical office had examined him personally, he was relieved and ordered the ointment specially prepared to be brought. After using the medicine, Shen Qingxi's condition eased considerably. He stayed at the pharmacy. To keep Zhao Wanqing occupied, standing up for me, I bowed to him, my throat tight. He hastily helped me up and went in to take Shen Qingxi's pulse. 4 days on end he wore a cold face by day to deal with Zhao Wanqing, then came at night to examine Shen Qingxi and comfort me. During this time he bore pressure from the Empress Dowager and the Crown Prince without wavering. Even when Li Chengxian threatened to destroy his clinic, he only bowed and said, "Do as you please, Crown Prince." This old man only wishes the Crown Prince no illness and no calamity for life. Li Chengxian was left speechless. There are many incompetent doctors in this world. A divine physician is rare. He cannot promise he will never fall ill, and in the end he left in a huff with Master Physician Yang treating me this way. How could I lag behind? I filed a suit accusing Zhao Wanqing and Lu Jingxing at the Jingzhou Yamen. The Yamen arrested Lu Jingxing but dared not punish Zhao Wanqing. They could only refer the case to the Court of Judicial Review, which pushed it to the Ministry of Clan Affairs. No one dared to try the case, but I did not care. What I wanted was for everyone to know. Zhao Wanqing and Lu Jingxing shot the prince consort in public, attempting to put him to death. The Empress Dowager summoned me to the palace, and I refused, citing illness from grief. The Chancellor's residents sent gifts of apology. In front of their envoys I redistributed every gift and told the crowd that as long as the prince consort woke, whatever the Chancellor's residents sent today, the princess mansion would distribute the same amount another day. Countless people prayed for the prince consort's swift recovery. Finally, I received the emperor's edict in the imperial study. Zhao Wanqing, Li Chengxian, and Lu Jingxing were all present. The emperor looked at me. There was no tenderness left in his eyes, only exhaustion. To him, I was probably a problem, an exceedingly troublesome problem. I was tired too. I didn't understand why, when all I wanted was to live honestly and steadily. All kinds of troubles kept finding me. If I didn't resist, I'd be trampled into the mud. If I did resist, it seemed wrong as well. The emperor asked me, now that things had come to this, what should be done? An eye for an eye. Debts must be repaid. I beg your majesty to adjudicate impartially. I knelt on the ground, my voice cold. Li Chengxian said, "Your majesty, I think this matter warrants further deliberation. Duanhua is not culpable intentionally. Her crime does not merit death. Moreover, the prince consort may yet awaken. Please, your majesty, reconsider." Zhao Wanqing wept. "I am willing to die. I only beg my sister not to hate me. I was shooting arrows in the wasteland. No one knew my brother-in-law would be there. It was truly unintentional. I beg my uncle to execute me. I am willing to atone for my brother-in-law's life." The emperor lowered his eyes and finally made his decision. Zhao Wanqing was confined for 3 months. Lu Jingxing was given 30 lashes. My heart was like dead water. Zhao Wanqing had won so completely. As I left, the emperor told me that Zhao Wanqing's parents had died at the hands of bandits and had merited rewards from the court, so she could not be executed. I bowed my head and spoke very softly. "Your Majesty, have you considered that it is precisely because of that she dared shoot the prince consort?" The emperor paused. It was an unintentional mistake on her part. "Ha!" I turned away, tears streaming down my face. "Your Majesty, you wouldn't let me blame the empress, the crown prince, or Li Chengyu. And now you won't let me blame Zhao Wanqing either. Whom am I supposed to blame? Myself for being born into the imperial family. Jingning, your Majesty, please atone. Jingning was presumptuous today. Jingming blames no one but herself, only her short life. She cannot bear the emperor's vast grace. I never returned to the palace. Shenqingzi woke up half a month later. He said he had a very long dream, full of strange lights and distortions that made him unable to tell truth from illusion. He also said that he had not trespassed into the wasteland of his own accord, but had been drugged and left there, barely regaining consciousness. An arrow came at him. I held him gently. Hate and shame intertwined and spread. I could no longer avenge Shenqingzi. The matter had already settled, and stirring up trouble would be ungrateful. But one day I left the capital and took Shenqingzi to recover outside the suburban estates. I stayed there until spring warmed and flowers bloomed. Shenqingzi's health had greatly improved, and he deliberately never brought up affairs in the capital. We tacitly kept silent about it, like a pair of wealthy landowners, tilling the fields, planting vegetables. I learned to tell the grains apart and knew that chives planted in spring could be harvested again and again and last until September. The hens laid eggs, the ducks swam, and the geese could even beat a dog. Days passed, and we paid no heed to the capital, though sometimes Shenqingzi and I would sit on the roof drinking and, without speaking, both look toward the forbidden palace. One day he asked me, if I became an official and rose to great power, would that let us get justice? I thought and thought, then shook my head. As long as you are my son-in-law, there will never be a day when you are all-powerful. Father would not allow it, nor would the crown prince. Do you regret being my son-in-law? He paused, pulled me tightly into his arms. No, I won't. I said it, I will never regret it. In the blink of an eye it was May. The peonies at WN Temple were blooming beautifully. I hate climbing, so he went up the mountain alone, saying he would pick a few peony branches for me and bring back a vegetarian meal. After that, he never returned. When I found him, he was a corpse, stabbed dozens of times, thrown off the cliff, his whole body broken, his organs shattered. Shenqingzi had no father or mother, alone. I investigated for a long time but couldn't trace his origins. I wanted to tell his relatives and friends, but there was no one to tell. I could only sew his damaged body back together myself and bury him. On the day of the funeral, countless commoners came of their own accord to pay their respects. Bouquets fell onto the coffin. The flowers were still splendid, but the departed had instantly become nothing. I shut myself away for 3 months, saw no one. I was sorting out my thoughts, wondering why I had played the game of chess so poorly in those 3 months. Many things happened in the capital. First, there were rumors of ghosts under the cliff at WN Temple. People said they heard faint cries of injustice from down there, but when they actually looked, they saw nothing. Next, word spread that the crown prince broke out in rashes after eating lychees, causing him to fly into a great rage and even making the emperor look upon him with displeasure. After all, it's hard to trust an heir with such a glaring defect. The second prince, Li Changyu, was entrusted with an important task, to go to Fuzhou to pacify the people and stabilize hearts. The third matter was a scandal of romance. A woman stopped Zhao Wanqing's carriage in the street, claiming she was carrying Lu Jingxing's child and begging Zhao Wanqing to spare her and the baby. She offered to be a slave or maid, only to be allowed to be with Lu Jingxing. This turned Zhao Wanqing into a laughingstock. After all, she had been married for only 3 months. But all of these matters were ultimately overshadowed by another. There were whispers in the palace that I was not the empress's daughter at all, but a fake princess, and that the real princess had long ago been switched. Those people gossiped with great confidence, saying that the late consort WN had been monstrously cruel. She had deliberately brought a pregnant woman into the palace, and, while the empress was giving birth, had cut the pregnant woman's belly open and taken the baby to swap it with the real princess. A cunning two-birds-one-stone scheme. Not only was my own position insecure, but the second prince's was endangered too. But I thought the second prince must be even more terrified. At least I could enter the palace in the capital to investigate. He was on the road to Fuzhou and couldn't return to explain himself. Once in Fuzhou, he couldn't carry out his duties with peace of mind, and even if he completed the task, who knew what would happen by the time he came back? I entered the palace without going to see Empress Mother. Instead I went to see the emperor. I knelt on the ground and begged him to investigate my identity. It was probably the first time the emperor had heard such rumors. He angrily said, "Nonsense. Do you think it's that easy to swap out a child in the palace?" He refused to investigate, likely out of trust in the empress, but I was very disappointed. Had he not considered that the one who spread the rumor might be the empress, she could let the crown prince matter fade, prevent Zhao Wanqing from being ridiculed, and ruin the reputation of the second prince Li Chengyu. I was merely a casualty of her calculation of benefits. Rumors multiplied, and my days grew increasingly miserable. Even when I left the city to pay respects to Shenqingzi, people pointed and whispered, yet there were those who hoped for my well-being. At the gate of the princess's residence, people sent vegetables and fruits, scholars wrote letters of encouragement and consolation, and various tonics and medicinal ingredients arrived. I did not cry when I entered the palace, I did not cry during the memorial for Shenqingzi, but I cried in front of these offerings. Qing Luo held me and wiped away my tears. "Princess, what is true, nothing can make it false. Heaven sees everything, just rest assured." 3 days later came the Mid-Autumn family feast, but that year I did not receive an invitation to enter the palace. Zhao Wanqing came specially to ask me to go with her. When she heard, she covered her mouth in surprise and laughed. "Could the rumor be true? Is it possible you really weren't born of the aunt?" She examined me carefully and added, "Oh, how strange, you really don't resemble her at all." She leaned close and, in a voice only the two of us could hear, said, "Sister, don't blame aunt. After all, you truly weren't born of hers. A bastard replaced aunt's biological child. How could she not treat you harshly? So that's how it is. Those hardships suddenly seem to have a reason. But Empress Mother can tell me this. I don't have to cling to the title of princess if I don't want to." At the Mid-Autumn family banquet, I heard there had been a very unpleasant commotion. The emperor left in a huff. The empress was full of sorrow. The crown prince stormed angrily to the princess's residence. He raised his riding whip and pointed at me. "It's all your bastard fault. Your mother colluded with noble consort WN to trade away my own sister. How dare you keep living in the princess's mansion? Smash her." A group of guards charged in like wolves and tigers, beating and smashing, looting everywhere. I told the servants not to stop them. Protecting myself was what mattered. Li Chengxian struck at me with the whip. Qing Luo put herself between us and took the blow meant for me. Li Chengxian wanted to strike again. I grabbed the whip with my other hand and used his momentum to send him sprawling to the ground. I looked down at him from above. "Today you either kill me, or if you can't kill me I'll beat you until you lie on the ground unable to move." Crown Prince, have you forgotten? Your literary talent is no match for mine. You can't even beat me. Besides being reborn, you're useless. You disliked me so much before. Was it because I'm not your real sister? Or because you were simply jealous? Jealous that I'm a woman yet excel at everything you do. Li Chengxian dared not kill me. Attacking the princess's residence could be called filial piety toward his mother. But if he actually murdered me, such brutality and contempt for the law would doom his claim to the throne. He left with one vicious parting remark and took his men away. Qing Luo relaxed, her shoulders trembling as she cried and asked me, "Your Highness, what will you do now?" I felt the bloodstain on her back and my heart ached. "Did you really think I'm not the Empress's child?" She dared not answer. I sighed. How could I possibly not be the Empress's child? Even if I weren't, I would make it so. Not long after the Mid-Autumn Festival, a worse piece of news arrived. The steward of the tenant farmers at my country estate came to tell me that Li Chengyu had sent men to collect rent, claiming the princess was no longer a princess and therefore had no right to the land's rental income granted by the court. He asked if this was true. He worried that if Li Chengyu collected once and I collected again, they wouldn't be able to pay. I said, "Do as they say for now, don't cause a conflict, I'll think of a way to resolve this." The steward was distressed. "But he collects more than you do, they still want to farm for you." I nodded. Li Chengyu hated me and would not treat the tenants well. I ordered Qing Luo to bring some money to him. "Get through this year, next year, at the latest next year, I will still be your mistress." The steward sighed and bowed to me. "Your Highness, you must hold on to the farmers are all counting on you." Winter came soon enough, and on the day it snowed the emperor brought me into the palace. We walked through the imperial garden covered in snow. The emperor said, "When you were little, your father piled snowmen with you right here. You were so tiny then," I replied. "I made 5 snowmen, one was for the emperor, one for the empress, one for the crown prince, one for Chengyan younger brother, and one for me." I said our family of 5 would be together forever. The emperor was moved and began to neglect noble consort Wn. That year, noble consort Wn must have hated me fiercely and always had a few cruel words for me when she saw me. Later, I was poisoned. When I woke up, noble consort Wn had already been relegated to the cold palace. The emperor said, "Your father has always believed you are my daughter, but some things—" "Mother, listen, there's a sound." I stopped the emperor. I understood he only meant to say it would be better to investigate my origins, but if those words came from his own mouth, at first they might cause him guilt, and prolonged guilt would become a burden. Carried long enough, all that ardent love would turn to loathing, so it was best that any doubts not be spoken by him. I said, "Someone fell into the water." I dashed toward the lake, reached it before the other palace maids and eunuchs, jumped in, and rescued a young palace maid who had fallen in. By the time I dragged her to shore, I was utterly exhausted. I fainted at the right moment. When I woke, I was in a warm bedchamber and could hear the Empress Dowager speaking. "How is this possible? How could she have a birthmark? That's impossible, Your Majesty." This old servant saw it clearly. The birthmark is hidden at the root of the thigh. It's not easy to notice unless one looks carefully. Perhaps Your Majesty misremembered. How could I have misremembered? How could I? Before she died, Consort Wn told me she swapped my child. My child was a son with a crescent-shaped mark at the thigh root. She gave me a girl instead. I had a son. The Empress Dowager's voice tore with grief. "Nonsense," the Emperor thundered. "How could you believe that madwoman's words? She bore you malice, wanting nothing more than for you and your daughter to be estranged. She deliberately provoked you. Yet you believed her and treated Jingning like that. Shame on you as a mother." The Empress Dowager fell silent for a moment, then let out a low, stifled sob. I felt calm and allowed myself to fall asleep again, but falling into the water in winter had given me a chill. My body burned with fever. After a while someone felt my forehead and applied a cold compress to cool me. I could sense it, but my head was heavy and I could hardly keep my eyes open. I spoke deliriously at times. "Mother, Consort Wn cursed that I was born of a low woman, so I struck and kicked her. I didn't mean to be rude. Mother, it hurts so much. Consort Wn squeezed me so hard. It hurt." Shenqingxi, a yang. The Empress Dowager hates and resents me. What should I do? The Empress Dowager's sobs came to my ears as she scolded the imperial physician. "Why is she still so hot? You lot are a pack of useless gluttons. What do I need you for?" She grew anxious. For a moment she took on the shape of a mother, but it was too late. I no longer cared. I did not open my eyes until the next day. Feeling muddled as if in a fog, the Empress Dowager called out in joy, and 2 clear tears fell. "Jingning, how are you? Mother, am I dreaming? Mother." Tears streamed down my face as the Empress Dowager held me and wept bitterly. "I am recovering from my injuries in the cunning palace of Empress Dowager." The Empress Dowager checks on me with concern, and Zhao Wanqing has come a few times, but has failed to capture her attention. One day, Zhao Wanqing came weeping and wailing. "Aunt, Lu Jingxing deceived me. That woman named Liu Xuan came again. She even carried a child." Lu Jingxing simply did not send her away. She was talking animatedly when I stepped out from behind the curtain, and whispered, "Mother, I want to return to the princesses." The Empress Dowager immediately dismissed her. "You are still injured. You must be well before you can leave." I glanced at Zhao Wanqing, coughed a few times, and feigned weakness. "Mother, I want to go." The Empress Dowager seemed to understand something. A sadness surged in her eyes. "Jingning," I bowed to her, and slowly left. Zhao Wanqing called after me, "Sister, do you blame me? Feelings are the hardest to control. As long as you forgive me, I am willing to do anything." I replied softly, "Then you must promise me one thing. Reconcile with Lu Jingxing. Since you have obtained what you longed for, cherish it well. Your Marquis is still with you at least, but my husband is no longer here. I turned away, hiding my face behind me. I could hear the Empress Dowager scolding Zhao Wanqing. Enough, Lu Jingxing. Merely has a concubine. As the mistress you should be magnanimous. A man can have 3 or 4 wives and concubines, and even this palace is not exempt. What virtue do you have to seek one lifelong partner for yourself? That day, Zhao Wanqing cried as she left the cunning palace for the first time. I believe that if such a thing happens once, it will happen again, and again, countless times. I do not know who came up with the idea for Zhao Wanqing. She brought that woman named Liu Xiyin into the Prime Minister's residence, kept her under her nose, hoping to flatten her and shape her as she wished, but she was wrong. That Liu Xiyin had money. In this era, money can move demons. Liu Xiyin lived very comfortably in the rear courtyard of the Prime Minister's manor, and soon she managed to lure Lu Jingxing back into bed again. Zhao Wanqing sat listlessly through the night, unable to understand what had happened. She did not understand that she had sent people to kill Liu Xiyin, why Liu Xiyin could still live, and even bear a child so smoothly. She also did not understand why Liu Xiyin, a courtesan, could be so wealthy. Why could she make the wife of the Prime Minister's mansion smile and welcome her the days when the Osman thus blooms? Liu Xiyin and I sit facing each other in the meditation room of Wn Temple. Qingluo smiles as she hands her a stack of silver notes. She takes them grandly and thanks me with a smile. I ask how life is at the residence. She sneers, waiting for the princess to rescue me again. I can only live on because of my son. Only then can I endure the reek of that shameless man. Back then Liu Xiyin was the top courtesan of the brothel. The matter of the crown prince and Zhao Wanqing stirred him to anger and restlessness. He couldn't vent his resentment on the crown prince, who was the heir apparent, nor could he vent his fury on Zhao Wanqing, the duchess. He could only vent his anger on those weaker than him. At that time Liu Xiyin was still a kept girl. She sold her art but not her body. After Lu Jingxing refused her, he forced himself on her in a fit of rage. The brothel mother heard Liu Xiyin's scream but, because of the power of the young master of the Xiangfu, she dared not speak. Afterwards, he threw a stack of silver notes at her and coldly said, "A cheap whore dares to resist me. If I want you dead, it's just a flick of my finger." Later, Zhao Wanqing and Lu Jingxing quarreled, and she became Lu Jingxing's outlet for his anger. A delicate, dependent girl from a brothel is the lowest rung in this world's hierarchy. No one speaks for her. Later still, Lu Jingxing wanted to marry. He told her he could not come again. She hated him. She could have continued to be her own pure courtesan, could have saved up silver to buy her release when she grew old and faded, and found a needlewoman's trade to live on. But now Lu Jingxing violated her and then discarded her. Without Lu Jingxing's power and protection, she would have to take clients again, to shuttle between one man and another. He ruined her, yet hoped she wouldn't hate him. He's probably dreaming in the end. She did not drink the abortion soup. She became pregnant and escaped from the brothel, stopping Zhao Wanqing's carriage in the street, thinking she could find a way to live. Unexpectedly, Zhao Wanqing was crueler than Lu Jingxing. Lu Jingxing only wanted to cut ties with her. Zhao Wanqing, however, wanted her dead. When my people went to save her, she was heavily pregnant and thrown into a ruined temple. A few old woman beggars protected her, and they were beaten to the face with blood by thugs. Liu Xiyin smiled and said, "When I was a pure courtesan, I also hoped to meet a benevolent patron who would rescue me from that filthy place. But I waited and waited for someone who never came. They looked down on me, scorned me, yet lusted after my body. Truly human faces, beastly hearts, words that lie. As a man, you study and master both literature and martial arts, and you can trade with the imperial family. And me, though my learning isn't inferior to those good men, I can only serve with my body. Even when they recite, it's nonsense, and I have to rack my brains to find ways to flattering until I feel sick. How can this world be so unfair to women? Yes, how could this world be so unfair to women?" Another fresh scar on her body, some from Lu Jingxing, some from Zhao Wanqing. I ask her if she can endure days like this. She raises her head and smiles. "Of course I can endure. The intrigues within the inner court are easier than the feuds in the brothel. I still must secure a good future for my son. What Lu Jingxing owes me, I cannot get back, but my son will. If that's the case, then wait for my news. I and she clap our hands lightly, sharing a smile at the New Year's banquet. Li Chengxian looked at me, as if about to say something, then stopping. I had purposely left the table to take a walk in a quiet spot. Li Chengxian and Li Chengyu called after me, "Jingning, sister." I turned back, looking at them calmly. Li Chengxian drew a deep breath. "Jingning, I'm sorry, it was my fault before. I thought you weren't mother's own, and resented you for it, so I targeted you at every turn. I don't ask for your forgiveness, nor do I expect you to be as before. I only hope you are safe and healthy. I promise you, for all that's past, I will make it up to you." He looked at me with an earnest face. Though his words said he didn't seek my pardon, his whole expression was pleading to be forgiven, desperate to free himself from guilt. I had seen through him long ago. As a child he was like this. Give me a little kindness and he expected my lifelong gratitude and absolute obedience. He was kind to me yet didn't want me to have it better than him. That was why, after the grand tutor praised me, he was so angry he skipped lessons for days. And when he heard from mother that I might not be her biological child, he couldn't wait to suppress me. I lowered my eyes and cried. Tears fell drop by drop onto the ground. Li Chengxian panicked. "Jingning, Your Highness the Crown Prince, I cannot forget what you did to me. For Zhao Wanqing's sake, you don't acknowledge me as your sister. In your eyes, Zhao Wanqing is your sister. What am I to you? No, we share the same mother. Zhao Wanqing is only from aunt's womb. By kinship we are closer. I treated her well only because she was lonely." "Crown Prince," a sorrowful female voice came from the shadows. Zhao Wanqing looked at the Crown Prince in disbelief, her eyes quickly filling with tears. She covered her mouth with the back of her hand and stepped backward, then turned and ran off. Li Chengxian, flustered, showed a flash of confusion in his eyes. He hurriedly said to me, "Jingning, you go back first," then chased after Zhao Wanqing. Li Chengyu stamped his foot in exasperation. "Li Jingning, look at the trouble you picked. Now both the Crown Prince and sister are angry. What did you call me?" I asked coldly. Li Chengyu shrank back, as if only then realizing he had come to make peace but had just been complaining about me and even called Zhao Wanqing's sister. I snorted and turned to leave. Li Chengyu called after me, "Why are you so petty?" I just didn't react quickly enough. I stopped in my tracks. "Aren't you coming?" "Huh, where to?" "Where else? Of course to the Xiong residence. The four of us should reconcile. I don't want to make mother sad. She's caught between us siblings. And it's hard for her." Li Chengyu happily looped his arm through mine. "Right, let's go." In that moment I seemed to return to childhood, back to when Zhao Wanqing hadn't arrived and mother still thought I was her own. Li Chengyu was affectionate and always, without thinking, would link arms with me and act spoiled. It wasn't until the Crown Prince warned him about proper boundaries and the Grand Tutor punished him with extra lessons that he nursed resentment through slaps on the hand. When he returned, he found me annoying. With Li Chengyu leading the way, we reached the Prime Minister's residence as fast as possible. Li Chengyu acted as if he were entering his own home. He didn't announce us, strode right in, and headed straight for Zhao Wanqing's courtyard. Halfway there, he suddenly stopped. He widened his eyes and rubbed them in disbelief. I followed his gaze and saw, in the moonlit bamboo grove, His Highness the Crown Prince entangled with Zhao Wanqing. Their cries reduced to muffled whimpers. Li Chengyu was frantic, as if he himself were the thief. He quickly pulled me along. "Let's go. Act like we saw nothing." Too late, a firelight flared up, illuminating the Crown Prince and Zhao Wanqing. The two looked toward the light in terror and saw Lu Jingxing's face drained of color. This time, Lu Jingxing could not hold back. He struck the Crown Prince, punching him in the face. After a few blows, we rushed out, kicked Lu Jingxing aside, and then, together with Li Chengyu, dragged Li Chengxian and Zhao Wanqing away that night. I don't know how things went for others. In any case, I slept quite soundly. Rarely, since Shun Qingxi's death, had I had such a peaceful sleep. In the days that followed, Zhao Wanqing hid in the harem, terrified and unsettled. She tried desperately to explain that she was heartbroken and that the Crown Prince only tried to comfort her, that nothing had happened between them. But the Empress harshly slapped her. "Fool, Luo Xiong's disciples have today implicated the crown prince again and again. Because of you, the crown prince is tainted. Luo Xiong and I are at odds. How dare you claim you did nothing? Zhao Wanqing covered her face, stunned. Aunt, if Li Jingning hadn't schemed to set me up with the crown prince, how would Lu Jingxing have suspected me? How could the crown prince and I have been misunderstood? She tried to shift the blame onto me. I slowly knelt and said softly, if mother wishes to blame someone, blame me. Whenever Duanhua and I quarreled, the crown prince always protected her. I wanted him to protect me once, and after the Mid-Autumn incident, my misunderstanding led me to make a grave mistake. I beg mother to punish me. The empress suddenly remembered something and glared fiercely at Zhao Wanqing. Return to your residence. From now on, you shall not come to the palace without an imperial summons, and you shall not set foot in the Eastern Palace. Zhao Wanqing's eyes widened in disbelief. Aunt, you don't even believe me, she cried. If my father and mother were alive, they would believe me. She ran out weeping. The empress wanted to chase after her in distress. I gently tugged her sleeve. Mother, let the girl be alone for a while. She's distraught and can't hear reason. The more you say, the more strife may arise. After all, her parents gave their lives for the state. They were meritorious officials. It's only right to show her some leniency. The empress drew several deep breaths and forced down her anger. But her hands gripping the teacup were very tight, very tight. Zhao Wanqing took up residence in the palace. Neither she nor Lu Jingxing would give way, and they reached a stalemate. The crown prince was in a panic, kneeling every day in the imperial study being scolded by his father until his face flushed. He couldn't spare any attention for her. At this time, Liu Xin became pregnant. Lu Jingxing elevated Liu Xin to the rank of concubine. Zhao Wanqing couldn't sit still. She hurried back to the prime minister's residence, intending to stop it all. This time Lu Jingxing showed her no mercy. He ignored Zhao Wanqing's pleading and tears and was determined to punish her for being unfaithful and impure. If you are so resentful, you may summon your crown prince brother to punish me. Lu Jingxing, my relationship with the crown prince brother is pure and above reproach. Do not slander me. Ha, pure and inseparable, are you? Lu Jingxing sneered. Zhao Wanqing could no longer bear it. She raised her hand to slap Lu Jingxing, but at that moment Liu Xin rushed forward, took the slap, and toppled heavily to the ground. Bright red blood flowed from between her legs. Zhao Wanqing froze, until Lu Jingxing struck her with a hard slap to wake her. If anything happens to Xin, I will never spare you. Former lovers had become enemies. I couldn't help sitting on the roof, drinking cup after cup. I finally understood how lonely lifting a cup to invite the bright moon, my shadow, becomes 3-inch can be. Shen Qingzi, if you know in the afterlife, are you well? I will reclaim justice for you bit by bit, so you must bless me. Xiao Xin has been recuperating for 3 months. During these 3 months, Lu Jingle placed her truly in the palm of his hand. When I saw her in the garment shop, she was rosy and looked well. She smiled and said, the tonic almost makes me sick to my stomach. If I truly lost the child, even with such tonic I'd have overdone it, not to mention it's a fake one. But I'm glad to see Zhao Wanqing so humiliated. Zhao Wanqing and Lu Jinglexing completely turned against each other, and they pretended not to see one another. After the Empress Dowager stopped supporting Zhao Wanqing, her days in the Prime Minister's residence grew harder. The madam of the residence loathed Zhao Wanqing for the green hat she had cast on her son, and since she could not cause trouble for the crown prince, she schemed to torment Zhao Wanqing. In court, the crown prince's situation grew more and more precarious. He once had the support of the chancellor and everything went smoothly, but now his steps were difficult and many things did not go well. However, they did not know that something even worse was about to come. After half a year, the second prince secretly returned to the capital from Fuzhou. As soon as he reached the capital, he cried before his father, "Father, I almost couldn't come back to see you." From the attendants, the father learned that the second prince had been attacked multiple times on the way to and from Fuzhou and had to change his appearance, disguising himself as a trader to avoid assassination. It was also through this that he discovered the truth about the Fuzhou riot. There were no bandits or mobs in Fuzhou, only impoverished people forced to survive. When the former prefect of Fuzhou, Zhao Wanqing's father, was in office, he wielded power, extorted wealth, and oppressed the people, driving them to banditry. Later, the court sent troops to suppress the bandits. Zhao Wanqing's father killed innocent people while posing as a rioter, privately conscripting laborists to mine and transporting prisoners to the mines, causing numerous deaths and injuries. Later still, when there were not enough prisoners, he arrested decent people for trivial offenses that would ordinarily be punished with fines, but he forced them to serve in the mines. How many families were ruined because of this? Then the Fuzhou riot occurred, and the people rose up en masse, killed Zhao Wanqing's father, and themselves paid with their lives, being treated as rebels and suppressed by the court. Zhao Wanqing's parents, by contrast, gained a good reputation and were widely praised. The new prefect knew Zhao Wanqing was a princess, and with the shelter of the empress and the crown prince, he let the mistake continue, letting the wrongful cases persist. When the second prince spoke of the people's livelihoods, he wept several times. He cried, "Father, I know speaking like this may slander the Empress Dowager, the Crown Prince, and Princess Danying, but the people are too miserable. The tax in Fuzhou is still more than twice that of other places, and every household has to sell sons and daughters to survive. I truly cannot bear it. I beg Father to save the people of Fuzhou." The father's face grew iron-gray, and he quickly issued several imperial edicts. Under the pretense of searching for the second prince, people were dispatched to Fuzhou to continue the investigations, one route made public, the other kept secret. A month later, the memorials laid out on the emperor's desk were over a person's height, all detailing the grievances and atrocities suffered by the people of Fuzhou, and that money was not solely pocketed by Zhao Wanqing's father. A large portion had been presented as tribute to the empress and the crown prince. That day, the emperor slammed the table and staggered, nearly collapsing. Chief eunuch De hurriedly helped him to the couch. He stopped De from fetching the empress and asked in a dazed manner, "Did the crown prince really do this?" De was speechless. Just then, the crown prince said he had a gift for the emperor. The gift was a large Buddha statue built beneath a cliff, 3 meters tall. Seated on a high lotus pedestal, modeled after the emperor's visage, gazing compassionately at the surging river, a single Buddha had cost countless resources. The crown prince respectfully said, "Father, you have been overworked lately, your son worries for you, so I had this Buddha made, only hoping for your long life and the lasting stability of the realm." The emperor snorted and sneered, "Long life, lasting stability. Yes, yes," the crown prince stammered, sensing something amiss. The emperor finally flew into a rage. He grabbed the paperweight and hurled it at the crown prince. "With a monster like you, how can I have long life? How can the realm remain stable?" The crown prince was put under house arrest. The Empress Dowager was confined to the palace. Zhao Wanqing was summoned to the imperial clan court for interrogation about the situation in Fuzhou. Zhao Wanqing roughly anticipated the gravity of the matter. If she claimed ignorance, there was still a slight chance of survival, but if she admitted knowledge, it would be a death sentence. She gritted her teeth and refused to acknowledge any involvement, even under torture from the clan court. I went to see her in the dungeon, once lofty noblewoman, now reduced to a wretched, forlorn dog. I quietly took in her appearance. She finally stopped feigning sleep, opened her eyes and glared at me with venom. "You came to see me make a spectacle of myself? Yes, really thought that being a commandery princess made you untouchable. Fake is fake, no matter how hard you try. It's not real. Didn't it all show itself at once? If not for your mother's orders, how would my parents have?" she blurted angrily, then realized and quickly clamped her mouth shut, only able to glare at me. I laughed and said, "Your parents deserved to die, one a corrupt official, the other a vicious woman. What right had they to enjoy the honors bestowed by the court? They died because they deserved to, not because of my mother or the crown prince. My mother and the crown prince had no knowledge of your filthy schemes. Their only mistake was trusting venomous relatives like you, believing you were upright and serving the court. Zhao Wanqing, you will pay for what you've done. However, for the sake of family ties, when you get out of prison, the crown prince will take you into his household. There, you will live out your days. Zhao Wanqing seemed to finally understand. Even if she gritted her teeth and refused to admit it, the crown prince and the empress would never let her off. They would not allow her to continue living in this world, and she would never again enjoy the opulent life she once had. After I left, she stayed dazed for a long time. When the prison gate clanged again, she couldn't help shivering and cried out loudly, "I have something to say. I want to see the chief judge. Let me see the chief judge." Zhao Wanqing dealt a fatal blow to the empress and the crown prince. When she came to the capital from Fuzhou, she had actually prepared a contingency. She left a loyal servant and the correspondence between the empress, the crown prince, and her father in a village 50 li from the capital, and that village happened to be my fief. The servant lived comfortably in my village. On the way she had inquired and learned that the empress had given birth to 2 sons and a daughter, that His Highness the Crown Prince was wise and bright with the bearing of an heir, that the third prince was lively and handsome, a dragon among men, and that the eldest princess was kind, gentle, and exceedingly sincere. She thought that people so universally praised by the populace couldn't be bad, so she left the servant there. But after seeing me in the capital, a frenzy of jealousy surged in her, jealous that I was indeed, as rumored, gentle and kind, sincere and good, cherished by my parents, guarded by my elder brother, respected by my younger brother, and moreover engaged to a fiancé of extraordinary bearing and distinguished background. She had only a dirty past. She felt the world was unfair. If she could replace me, might she not also have the happiness I possessed? Zhao Wanqing's confession and those letters were a heavy blow to the emperor. He had to face the fact that the wife he had cherished for years and the crown prince were not as they seemed. They were ruthless and cruel, obsessed with money, and for their own gain had enslaved the people, treating the population of an entire prefecture as their private property. Could the realm be entrusted to them? Would they treat the people well? The emperor hesitated for 3 days. He issued the edict deposing the crown prince, and the empress was placed under house arrest, forbidden to go out without an imperial decree. Li Chengyu and I were implicated as well. I was confined to the princess mansion. Li Chengyu was granted a princely title and sent to his fief, but his fief was a trifle, wholly unworthy of his status. He went to his fief in tears, and on the way happened upon a government bandit suppression. When those mountain bandits were captured and saw Li Chengyu, they immediately kowtowed to him and begged for their lives. The bandit leader said that it had been agreed that as long as they intercepted and killed those coming from Fuzhou, the safety of the whole camp would be guaranteed. So how was there now a government anti-bandit force? Li Chengyu vehemently denied it. The bandit leader spoke with certainty. That prince whom the Nanping princess picked up came from Fuzhou. Others you might deny, but could a grand prince himself deny it? I also have those seals. Li Chengyu was left speechless. He had scarcely gone 50 li out of the city when the general leading the anti-bandit force brought him back to the capital. This time the emperor was utterly despairing. He roared, "Investigate, thoroughly investigate this. I want to see what else they have been hiding from me." When the emperor loses his temper, 100 corpses lie before him. Under the thunderous methods of my father, the truths I had to great effort dig for were all laid bare before me. That early spring, when the harvest was scant and people in Fuzhou could hardly survive, rebellions arose, and people fled to refuge. Yet there was another group of people who truly worried about the common folk and cared about people's livelihoods, traveling thousands of miles from Fuzhou to the capital to file complaints at the imperial court. A group of over 100 people, divided into more than 10 teams, with men, women, and children among them, faced pursuit and obstruction along the way. But only one person, Shenqingzi, survived to reach the capital. We thought victory was in sight, but who could have imagined that bandits hiding near the capital would deal him the fatal blow? And he, by luck, was picked up by me. After waking, he had lost his memory. The reason I could not identify him was that the empress and the crown prince had long erased any trace of his origin. I also finally understood that those assassinations seemingly aimed at me were actually to kill Shenqingzi. The memoryless Shenqingzi did not know, and I, who was deeply embroiled in the capital's turmoil, did not know either. Therefore, that trip to Waynan Temple was destined to be a death sentence. and the one who killed him was Empress Dowager, the Crown Prince, Zhao Wanqing, and Lu Jingxing. They plotted this trap and were waiting for Shen Qingxi to travel alone, and yet I still believed that if I stayed away from the capital, disaster would not come to me again. Father Emperor summoned me into the palace. He looked at me with a gaze full of pity. We quietly shared a meal. After the meal, Father Emperor said, "These years you have suffered. Do not worry, I will choose a good husband for you again. This time, you can choose anyone you want, anyone I want." Would that mean reviving the dead Shen Qingxi would be possible? Not all emotions can be replaced so carelessly, yet I still bowed politely. "Thank you, Father Emperor, let me think about it." The emperor nodded and then returned to state business. The empress was deposed, the crown prince was deposed, Li Chengyu was deposed. Lu Jingxing and Zhao Wanqing were exiled. Only I, the princess, remained unaffected and, to add to that, was granted 800 shou-in fief, making me the princess with the largest fief in all dynasties. On the day Lu Jingxing and Zhao Wanqing were banished, they wore shackles and manacles. Led out of the city step by step, the Lu family, fearing suspicion, did not come to bid farewell. I stood at the city gate and watched them, feeling a faint sense of satisfaction at last. Lu Jingxing's face was pale. He hung his head and urged the jailers to take him away. The jailers coldly rebuked him to stop directing. Zhao Wanqing's eyes flashed with hatred. "Li Jingning, what good does it do you to win? You're still an abandoned wife who cannot bear a child." Shen Qingxi's death was truly tragic. I reached out and pinched Zhao Wanqing's cheeks, forcing her to open her mouth. I had someone grab her tongue and cut it out with scissors. Her tongue split into two, like a snake's forked tongue. Blood splurted out as she screamed in torment, shaking her head violently. I released her and looked at her wretched state. My sense of satisfaction grew a little more. I whispered in her ear, "Do you know why I don't let you die? Because I only said one sentence in front of Lu Jingxing." Liu Xiyin was force-fed an abortifacient by Zhao Wanqing. She gave birth to a stillborn. Lu Jingxing went mad. "Impossible, absolutely impossible. The child looked like me. Don't you dare slander Xiyin. How could it not look like you when it was picked from the 100 infants at the nursery? Let me tell you something else. Liu Xuyin's second pregnancy was actually a false pregnancy. How could I bear to let her really miscarry for you? That blood blister was prepared by me, ready to be popped when you and Zhao Wanqing clashed. You poisonous woman, you lied to me. Impossible." Lu Jingxing lunged at me like a madman but was kicked away by my guard. He hunched over like a shrimp, beads of sweat popping out on his face. I laughed. "Then take your time leaving. You might as well linger a few days in the suburbs and listen to the news from the capital." Lu Jingxing suddenly realized something and stared wide-eyed in panic. Only then did he seem to regret it and tried to beg. My guard thrust a knife into his mouth, cutting off half his tongue, and then conveniently sliced his hand tendons. I watched silently and smiled. After all, as husband and wife you rise and fall together. Look at you two, aren't you a perfect match of cripples? Lu Jingxing and Zhao Wanqing were sent to the suburbs to recuperate. Once healed, they were to continue on. At that time, Liu Xiyin struck the Dingguan drum and, after receiving 30 strokes, accused Chancellor Luo of embezzlement and bribery and of rigging the imperial examinations. She presented piece after piece of evidence with only one demand: to leave the Luo household with her child and live as ordinary commoners. The emperor was enraged again and ordered a full investigation. Another political earthquake hit. The news reached the suburbs. Lu Jingxing frantically battered his head against the wall until it was a bloody mess. He slurred, "Jingning, I was wrong. Spare me. I shouldn't have been fickle. I shouldn't have killed the prince consort." The jailers, alarmed that he dared implicate the princess so boldly, quickly gagged him and pushed him off to a bitterly cold borderland. A month later, Chancellor Luo was executed. His disciples and former officials scrambled to save themselves, eager to distance themselves from him. The chancellor's residence was ransacked. The once lofty chancellor's wife was also exiled. The difference was that she and Lu Jingxing were sent south and north respectively. They would never see each other again in this life. Liu Xiyin came to bid me farewell holding her child. She wore a sincere smile and gently played with the son in her arms. Thank you, Princess, for rescuing me. I will never forget your great kindness, but I probably cannot repay it. I can only remember it in my heart and live a good life, never bringing shame to you." She was composed. If I had always been the princess, I wouldn't have needed her rescue. If I needed her help, then I must have reached a desperate end she couldn't save me from. I smiled and handed her a small casket containing some silver notes and jewels. I said, "Du Shenyang had a treasure chest, he Yunyan should have one too. May you go forward by your own will and have every wish fulfilled." Her eyes filled with tears. She knelt with her child. "Your Highness, I don't ask for this. Take it. Opening an embroidery shop still needs capital, and the child must be educated when he grows up." She accepted the box and removed the longevity lock from the child's neck. "Your Highness, I ask for nothing but your safety and health, a long and blessed life. Yunyan will pray for you in Jiangnan." I nodded and watched her leave. One more old acquaintance from the capital was gone. On the way back to the mansion, I detoured to where the crown prince was being held. The guards there saw me and hurried to salute. I asked them, "How is the crown prince?" A guard said, "The crown prince has been clamoring all day, hoping you will come to rescue him. He also begs His Majesty for leniency." "Your Highness, will you go in?" I shook my head. "It is not the time yet. The current Li Chengxian still harbors delusions and has not given up on his father. He thinks that if he admits his wrongs, his father will release him. But I will make him understand that disappointment is his fate. Only then will he be at the end of his rope. Only then will he realize that the only person he can count on is me. Tell the crown prince I will do my utmost to save him. Tell him to take care of himself and not to give up." "Yes," the guard answered respectfully. I turned and left, overhearing him say to someone else, "Princess Nanping is truly a good person." I couldn't help but smile. Flattery. The Nanping princess of old may have been a good person, but she has long been dead. What lives in this world now is only a vengeful specter. I went to Shen Qingxi's grave to burn paper offerings. The joss paper danced in the air. Unwilling to fall, I stood up and said softly, "You refuse to accept them because the vengeance is not yet complete. Rest assured, it's almost done. Everything is nearly over." I met second Prince Li Chengyu in a tea house. He looked delighted and bowed to me. "Thank you, Princess. If not for your instruction, I might not have returned alive from Fuzhou." He pressed his hand to his chest as if still startled. Before he left for Fuzhou, I had warned him the journey would be unsafe, advising him to split his forces 3 ways, one by water, one by land, and the third with him traveling incognito with attendants. He had thought traveling incognito would be the most dangerous, but after a wave of assassinations he realized that being visible is what is dangerous. He immediately changed into a servant's clothes and slipped away in the confusion. With help from the princess's trading house, he reached Fuzhou safely. The hardships on that route need no elaboration. But once this fool reached Fuzhou, he relaxed and trusted people too easily. Almost being sold to work as a servant, my people were alert and rescued him. When he was saved, he even asked, "Why are there so many men of loose manners in Fuzhou?" After the chaos in Fuzhou, the common folk only seek to survive, while the powerful grow more depraved. These are things a prince who has lived pampered in the Forbidden Palace would not know. The return journey was even more arduous. These trials made me see that this person is a complete incompetent, and yet because he is a prince, he is now the strongest candidate for crown prince. I could not accept that. With someone like him governing, how many fudges will there be? Does father truly not know? I said with a smile. "It was nothing. You helped avenge me as well." The second prince's face grew solemn. "Princess, please accept my condolences. Brother-in-law risked his life for the people of Fuzhou. They will not forget his kindness. Father has already decided to issue an edict to restore his name. You will see it soon. If that is so, that is excellent. In the future, if you need my help, just say the word. I will do my utmost. There is something right now. I wonder if it would be convenient for your highness." "What is it? Speak up." I should take a wife. I want to marry General Chen's daughter Chen Jinshu as my primary consort. I wonder if father would agree." The second prince's eyes were bright. I couldn't help smiling. Sure enough, once someone has power, they want more of it. The second prince was no exception. Nor was I nodded. Of course you may. I once had some acquaintance with General Chen's daughter. Although she comes from a military family, she actually prefers scholars with outstanding literary talent. If you truly want to win her favor, you should start with composing rhapsodies and poems. I understand. Thank you for your advice, Imperial Sister. The second prince hurried off. I arranged to meet Chen Jinshu and told her about today's matter as if it were a joke. Chen Jinshu said proudly, "Men in this world are always like that, thinking they can win a woman's heart, as if a woman were an object to be won and traded around." She was right, but I stroked her back. She flinched in pain. General Chen favored sons over daughters, and whenever a son erred he would whip the daughter to teach the son a lesson. I could not understand this. Whoever made the mistake should be punished themselves. Why punish the sister for the brother's wrongdoing? Got beaten again, didn't you? You're always so stubborn. If I were you, I'd accept the second prince, then you could settle scores and right wrongs. But I don't like him. Chen Jinshu paled, her eyes were clear as water, not like mine, whose heart and liver have already turned dark. I laughed. The prince's marriage, from betrothal to wedding, it can be as fast as half a year, or as slow as 2 or 3 years. In such a long time, anything that could go wrong might happen, right? What misfortune will occur? Chen Jinshu stared at me closely. I whispered in her ear, "How about becoming a noble widow?" Chen Jinshu's eyes lit up. She hooked her finger with mine. "One word and it's a deal. Don't lie to me. Although I'm not eloquent, Your Highness, you can't beat me." She was so proud, just as proud as my Shinchingzi. I smiled. "Yes, I can't beat you, Captain Chen." She smiled brilliantly, and I was full of longing. My Shinchingzi once spoke proudly like this, saying I couldn't beat him, but he is no longer here. Later, the second prince went to the general's residence to find Chen Jinshu, but he stumbled upon the woman he cared for being whipped by her father, an act that shocked him for a long time. He immediately intervened in anger, thereby winning Chen Jinshu's heart. General Chen, seeing this, apologized and talked and drank with the second prince, getting along very well. Chen Jinshu completed her task and felt relieved. She vowed lifelong love to the second prince. The second prince, thinking he had saved her, cared for her dearly, but when she returned that day, she beat up her mischief-making younger brother and, with General Chen frowning in anger, proudly said, "Father, you always say the daughter is useless. Perhaps those who climb up to the royal family depend on the daughter, not the son. You should know that one day, when I become the second prince's wife, what is in my belly will be a dragon grandson, and what brings you glory will be me and my son. My brother's lawless behavior is only hindering the second prince. If you still want me to climb onto this high branch, you must properly restrain my brother." General Chen roared in anger. "Ridiculous. If I weren't the great general, how could the second prince look at you?" Chen Jinshu smiled. "Father, you don't know how fierce the pillow talk can be. Can you keep the position of this great general stable forever? Look at the Luo minister's family, what fate they are in now." As she spoke, the door rang with the voice of the owner of the jewelry shop. "Miss Chen, someone sent over a necklace for you to try. Please take a look and see if it suits you. If it doesn't suit, I will take it back and modify it before bringing it to you." The jewelry was enormous and the jade incredibly green, shocking General Chen's eyes. He finally closed his mouth and urged Chen Jinshu to try on the necklace quickly. Later, Chen Jinshu coquettishly said to the second prince, "Your Highness, you must thank me for saving you again. Otherwise my father would have beaten me badly." The second prince was very anxious, because that priceless Yinua Luo was not something he had sent. He realized he seemed to have a very wealthy rival, and to avoid complications he decisively asked the emperor father for an edict. The emperor looked at him for a very long time, so long that cold sweat formed on his brow. In the end, the emperor agreed. He happily went back to tell Chen Jinshu the good news. He didn't know that this move cost him the crown prince title. Courtiers kept submitting petitions to the emperor asking him to make the second prince heir apparent. The emperor was troubled. On one hand he felt the second prince was unfit for the great responsibility. On the other hand, the second prince had accomplished several major affairs and won the people's hearts. While the emperor wavered, The second prince began to win over ministers and still held military power as a great general. This struck at the emperor's deepest taboo. The second prince's power could be given by the emperor, but it must never be sought by the prince himself, because that would mean predatory ambition, a marriage bestowing. Edict was issued uniting the second prince's household and the general's household. But the edict elevating the second prince to crown prince was forever suppressed. The second prince didn't know and kept waiting foolishly. How silly! I have visited the imperial palace more times than before, not for anything else, but to pay more filial respect to my father the emperor. The emperor tacitly approved my actions, for he is old now. His beloved empress was sent to the cold palace by him, his eldest son was deposed, his second son has wolves' ambitions, and his third son was also deposed. The other children are so small that their mere appearance gives people headaches. Now the only one who can stay by his side and talk to him is me. I accompany him to finish meals, then walk with him a bit more. When he goes to court, I wait for him to return from the court to have dinner, and I also press his temples to ease his headaches. He asked me why I do not return to the princess's residence. I paused for a moment, then said, "Father, the vast princess's residence is too cold and lonely." At that moment, he seemed to feel the same and was filled with loneliness as well. I thought I had gained his pity, but soon, the Ministry of Rights began to arrange for me to find a husband. When portraits of one man after another were laid out on my desk, I kept silent. Each man looked handsome, but that was all. Their family background, character, and literary talent were all merely mediocre. I set up a test ground outside the princess's residence to publicly recruit husbands-to-be. If someone could pass 3 levels, he would become my husband. Many came, many made it to the 3rd level, but no one who reached the 3rd level had ever fought me and won. The emperor thought I was fooling around and said that a proper man could not possibly be beaten by a woman, until he secretly patrolled the princess's residence in disguise and saw me in men's clothing bravely beating a tall and sturdy man on the ground. He seemed to finally believe that he had always thought his delicate daughter could fight, and could stand up to any man. On stage I sweated and, after victory, joyfully collapsed into the emperor's arms. At that moment, the emperor was proud of me. Later, I continued to enter the palace dressed as a man every day to dine with the emperor. A minister accused me of breaking rules and violating ancestral rights. I brought a group of young men, the defeated subordinates from when I recruited husbands, and blocked the minister's grandson in a small alley. I lifted his chin to warn him, "If you cry again, you will become the headman of this palace." The little grandson's face turned pale and he went home. I then blocked the minister's granddaughter in a ready-made clothes shop and forced her to change into a man's outfit and go out. The minister was furious but finally learned to keep quiet. And for some reason, a wind of change gradually blew through the capital. It became common for women to dress as men to travel, and those ministers did not say the people's customs were improper. I do not understand this well. When I burned paper for Fiancé, I asked him, "What is the principle behind this? Do people all admire the strong?" After a long time, a minister fainted on his way to court, and he happened to have a very important memorial on that day. I managed to save him with great difficulty, and the first thing he did after regaining his breath was to beg me to quickly bring the memorial to the palace. I first broke into the Golden Throne Hall, gave the memorial to the emperor, and then reverently exited. Although it was only a fleeting glimpse, the sight of this place planted a seed in my heart from then on. In my 2nd year of dressing as a man, the second prince caused a grave scandal. He had an entanglement with the illegitimate daughter of a minister and was caught red-handed. The matter reached the emperor. The emperor was furious and harshly rebuked the second prince for his wolfish ambition. "Do you think I'm blessed with only you as a son? You fool! How dare you treat a minister's daughter as part of your harem and take her at will? Did you ask my opinion?" The second prince trembled, knelt, and wept, admitting his guilt. The emperor, however, granted that illegitimate daughter the status of a secondary consort, fined the second prince's stipend and placed him under house arrest. Though the affair seemed to be satisfactorily resolved, I knew the second prince was forever disqualified from the throne. People at court stirred at the news. and more petitioned to depose the crown prince and restore him. At that time I went to see the deposed crown prince. Li Chengxian and Li Chengyu were locked up together, gaunt and desolate, no longer bearing the elegant handsome mien of their noble birth. When they saw me they were as ecstatic as dogs seeing meat. I hinted at good news, suggesting that Li Chengshuan's restoration was possible. He could hardly contain his joy, becoming delirious with happiness. Brother, if only we could muster a bit more support, father would release you. But I'm only a woman and have no one to call on. If only I were a man. But brother, rest assured, I will do my utmost, even to the point of shattering my body. My gaze was resolute. Li Chengshuan's expression shifted. I have a list here, it's the last thing I possess. Jingning, you must use it well. If I can get out, I will one day title you Princess Protector of the Realm and ensure you a life without worry. Now I understand what mother meant by what uplifts one uplifts all, what harms one harms all. Without brother's care, my days are indeed hard. Brother, you must come out. Mother also longs for you to rescue her from the cold palace. Li Chengxian made up his mind and told me where the list was. I nodded and hurried away. Sure enough, at the place he mentioned I found the list and the secrets tied to the names on it. Everything was prepared, only the east wind was lacking. The second prince, believing himself forever barred from the throne and brooding in discontent, suddenly encountered a group of courtiers who lavishly fêted him and swore undying loyalty. He also acquired funds to recruit troops and had General Chen as his backer. In the 25th year of the emperor's reign, an imperial edict was issued to the second prince's residence, alleging assassins in the palace and ordering him to enter the palace to catch the culprits. The second prince led troops into the palace under imperial command, ambitious to use the opportunity of slaying thieves to smoothly usurp the throne. He did not expect that his betrothed, Chen Jinshu, would, clad in armor, seize him and denounce him as a rebel and traitor. The palace upheaval came swiftly and departed swiftly. When I burst into the emperor's bedchamber in armor, the emperor looked at me in astonishment. In that moment he suddenly understood. So that's it, you laid so much groundwork. This is your ambition. I knelt on one knee. Father, 3 of your sons are dead. The remainder are still young. I do not wish to stain my hands with more blood. The decision is yours. Don't even think about it. You are a woman, how could you be emperor? He shouted sharply. I answered softly. Father, do you know why the deposed crown prince was corrupt? He looked puzzled. This was something he couldn't fathom. He truly doted on the deposed crown prince and had taught him since childhood, so he could never understand why the prince would embezzle, why he would go mad and crush an entire city's people. I said calmly, because he feared you, feared your jealousy and suspicion, so he deliberately let himself be stained, let himself have flaws, so you would feel your son was inferior and still needed your guidance, and thus would not suspect him. He simply didn't expect the prefect of Fuzhou to use his name to amass wealth. He didn't know that the court's 10% tax would be layered upon by the people into 20, 30, even 40 or 50%. That's how the tragedy in Fuzhou came about. Ultimately, the reason lies with you. Father, you are old, you should become the retired emperor. Father stood there stunned for a long time. We grew impatient and prepared to use force. He let out a gasp and suddenly collapsed. Father had a stroke. He stared wide-eyed. Unwilling to accept it, I ordered the imperial physicians to take good care of him, then turned and went out to receive the official's support. Father did not know that I did not fully control the palace. Those imperial guards thought I had truly entered to defend the throne, so they did not stop me. His guards had not betrayed him. With one command from him they would still fight. I was merely gambling. I did not expect fate to be on my side this time. I won, and I had deceived Father. His 3 sons were still alive and well enough, though not for long. With the official's support I ascended the throne and honored Father as the retired emperor. I decreed the second prince marry Chen Jinshu. On the second day after their wedding the second prince died suddenly, and Chen Jinshu became a powerful widow as she wished. For her role in aiding the ruler, I appointed her Grand General of the Imperial Guards, putting her on equal footing with her father, General Chen. She was no longer the pitiable girl beaten and scolded at her father's whim, but a high-ranking princess able to force General Chen to bow and even beat her brother. Before the second prince died, he asked me why I hated him so much that I had to put him to death. I leaned low and whispered one sentence in his ear. He glared in disbelief, cursed me a venomous woman, and cried that the state would perish from producing such a monster. I smiled and didn't care in the least. The dead keep the best secrets. I issued an edict ordering the execution of the deposed crown prince. He refused to believe it. Li Jingning, I am your brother, how dare you kill me? That's fratricide. The whole world will spit on you. When you and the others plotted to kill Shen Qingxi, did it never once cross your mind that I am your sister, that he is your brother-in-law? You seek revenge for an outsider, have you gone mad? I am your brother, your legitimate brother, born of the same mother, the same blood runs through our veins. You are not my brother. I do not have a brother. He thought I was lying, but actually everything I said was true, truly, beyond doubt. The disgraced crown prince was forced to drink the poisoned wine. His eyes bulged, his face twisted and convulsed. I whispered the same words into his ear, and hatred flared in his gaze before it faded back to grey. Another one who died with grievances unatoned. As for Li Chengyu, he was already terrified into numbness. Spare me, have mercy. I'll never do it again. I'll stay locked up here. I'll never leave for my whole life. I sneered and turned away. Later, he really was kept here for the rest of his life. He died at 45, and when his body was carried out, there was nothing left of the boy he once had been. News of Li Chengshuan's death and Li Chengyu's imprisonment reached the Empress Dowager in the cold palace. Day after day she spat insults. Night after night she wailed that she must see me. I ignored her until her voice was hoarse and her tears were dried up. Then I solemnly appeared before her in full imperial robes. She could not believe her eyes. Rebel and usurper, you've really seized the throne. You're a woman. How can you be emperor? What happened to your elder brother, your younger brother? What did you do to them? In that moment I felt something stir. So she did not love the late emperor so much after all. I had thought the first thing she'd ask about would be him. I said nothing, but set a few items before her one by one. She looked puzzled. What are you playing at with these theatrics? My throat tightened. Mother, look closely, what are these? She pressed down her agitation and stared again. And again. On the ground lay a swaddling embroidered with a gold dragon, a handkerchief embroidered with peonies, a diaper with dragon patterns, and a golden bell. The bell bore an exquisite phoenix motif, and at its base was a Li character so tiny it could only be seen with great care. She disregarded the other items, but the golden bell, she picked it up with trembling fingers, and the more she looked the more agitated she became. She recognized it. That bell was what she had prepared for her unborn child back then. She had thought it lost in the chaos, taken by someone. She had even complained to me later that there were too many untrustworthy people in the palace and the household must be strictly supervised to prevent traitors and exploitation. And now the bell had reappeared. She asked sharply, "Where did you get this? Where is the owner of this bell? Where is he? What did you do to him? Li Jingning, what did you do to him? Even if I bear you no love, he was innocent." She wept bitterly, her every word a mother's devoted grief. Yet she looked at me as if I were an enemy. Then I understood. What mattered to her was blood. Those of her blood were her children. Those without it, even if raised, could be discarded like rags. I sneered, "He is dead, you wicked woman. Why did you kill him? He was innocent. I raised you with all my heart, and you enjoyed my care for so many years. Why couldn't you accept him?" Her tears flowed without restraint. I whispered softly, "Empress Dowager, there's no need for such grief. At least you've met your own child. You accused him of being born lowly and a despicable soul who dared defy imperial authority. Such a life is truly worth living." The Empress Dowager's sobs abruptly ceased. Her face filled with shock. A surge of vengeance surged through me. "Empress Dowager, your son was Shen Qingxi. When sorting through his belongings, I uncovered his secret. You remember correctly, I never had the crescent birthmark. After his death, while mending his corpse, I discovered it and deliberately imitated it on myself. The 3 months I spent in seclusion were all for healing. Empress Dowager, did you feel justified in ordering your own son's death?" The Empress Dowager let out a piercing scream and crashed into the wall. blood splattered everywhere, and the stench of blood filled the air. Watching this scene unfold, I turned and walked away with heavy steps. Under the blazing sun, I was shivering with bone-chilling cold that seeped through my bones and evaporated in the sunlight. I couldn't help but wonder, why did such a human tragedy unfold? Had they spared me even a shred of mercy back then, might this disaster have been avoided? Consort WN never lied in her final moments. When she controlled the imperial harem, she had indeed switched the Empress Dowager's child. The orphan grew up outside the palace walls in Fuzhou, where he studied diligently and trained in martial arts, determined to prove himself worthy of the throne through scholarly excellence and reveal his true lineage. But his luck ran out when he encountered the corrupt prefect of Fuzhou on his journey to the capital. Driven by both vengeance for his family's injustice and justice for the people, he thought he'd finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, yet he was ambushed, lost his memory, and ultimately died at the hands of the very family he sought refuge with. Fate's cruel twists defy comprehension. Was this heaven's punishment for the Empress? If so, why did it strike an innocent soul? I couldn't fathom it. The mystery remained unsolved. On the rooftop of the Golden Hall, I waited for the first light of dawn. As the morning bell rang, all things awoke to the new day. Shinqingzi, if you choose to reincarnate, please wait for me. I will forge a golden era for you. No matter where you are reborn, you will have books to read, clothes to wear, meals to eat, and dreams to fulfill. Wait for me, and I will spare no effort to make that day come swiftly. The end.